Yes or no question?
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they
Assigned male at birth, so people are not male at birth?
I think that a person.
See, your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not, they're not murderers.
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
That was actually the best point somebody made.
It's not about the cells. It's not about. No, I'm speaking. 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 No, I'm speaking.
Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, and I am surrounded by 20 woke college kids. My first prompt is, abortion is murder and should be illegal. All right.
Can I maybe go?
Okay, hello, what's your name?
Juliana.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Can
you.
we get our terms right first?
Yeah.
Okay, abortion is the forcible ending of the viability of a being in utero, otherwise known as a fetus. Do we agree that's what abortion is?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. And then murder is the intentional taking of life, different than killing or sudden death. So murder would be the intent, with intent, taking another life. Do we agree with that?
Okay.
Okay, and then we agree that murder in general in society should be illegal.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah, no, I do want to preface that I'm a Catholic.
Okay.
So I think one really important thing that the Bible says is to not judge. And just going back to the topic, I think there's a big difference between, cells in utero than a living, breathing, existing being. And while I do believe it's murder, and that's just my personal belief, right? I don't believe in telling people what to do with their bodies. That's not up to me, and it's not up to us as well as Christians to judge.
Should we prevent murder in society?
For sure, yeah.
Then it should be illegal.
But I think that it's really different, right? Because, these people aren't.
Sorry, nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet
Okay, what's your name?
Naima.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, can I just ask, at how many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do you think a fetus is viable?
Well, at about 20 weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
So it's actually 24 to 26
weeks? Well, it's 20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v. Wade, 93% of abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable as a form of life.
So let's go into viability. So what is it about, let's say, a 6-week baby that has a heartbeat, its own DNA, fingerprint, brain waves, that is less moral worth than an 88-year-old right now with dementia in a home down the street? That person requires assistance, requires help. Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the f? I'm sorry, is this a language class?
It means little human being.
Ooh, his smile is very creepy. Okay.
Smiling is creepy?
No, your smile specifically.
Got it.
But let's go back we're losing track here.
No, but is it, what species is the fetus?
The fetus is not a species yet. It's technically classified as a parasite until it is viable.
So,
now I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A parasite is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So let's extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Are old people with Alzheimer's and dementia that are being assisted every day, are they parasites?
No, they're not parasites. They're human beings who are on the brink of death.
Got it. So they're
not going to be able to survive.
My 4-month-old that requires mom's breast milk and requires daily changes and feedings cannot survive without its own. Is my 4-month-old a parasite?
Your baby can breathe on its own. Your baby can drink water from its mouth to its stomach.
But it cannot.
Your baby can
it hunt?
food.
Can it gather? Can it reason?
But that's not what qualifies something as being a living organism. Being a living organism simply means, can you survive outside of a womb, outside of your host?
Got it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. Why does that then equate to moral viability?
It equates to scientific viability.
Why? Under what standard?
Because it is not alive, and you are advocating for the rights of something that is not technically a life.
Got it. So what is something
while
that has
sacrificing the needs of the human woman who is alive.
Got it. So, but a mom can survive
Yes.
without the baby in her, right?
Yes.
The baby cannot survive without the mom.
Yes.
But a mom cannot survive without her lungs. So it's not her body, it's in her body. It's not her DNA, so it's not her choice. So it's
It actually is directly her DNA. It is 100%. It's 50% of her DNA.
half her DNA. He's gonna win, I'm telling you. This could take a while.
Okay, first of all,
do we have our terms correct? We agree?
Actually, no. So first of all, I would like to refine our terms. I have 2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being. I think that's a very poor way to define murder, because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from killing my family, I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, you know, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is the case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation, intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg. For example, if you take Plan B, again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a being that has been fertilized. You do not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that when you have an IUD.
Okay, yeah, so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens? A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not murderers. We do not know for a case. That's like saying that
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they knew for certain, to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so do you think all murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions or had IUDs should go to jail, because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture and mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill, the ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the third trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them with syringes while the babies are crying and suffocating, being born alive, and then being dead on the operating table. Okay. That is who should go to jail.
Oh.
That was actually the best point somebody made.
We'll have to talk more about it.
Okay, whenever I'm talking about this discussion, I always go to the question of what about in the case of the mother when her life is in danger? Because I'm a big believer. I don't know. I'm still iffy on if I think it's if it's murder or not. But even so, I mean, I don't want to say murder is justified. Guys, wait. Let me just get this one point, and then you can vote me out. Give me 1 second. Say the mother gets pregnant, and she knows that if she gives birth, she's going to die. She has some kind of health complication. Then what do you do in that case?
Section.
I don't know what that means.
It's a C-section. They do an insert.
Guys, wait, hold on. Just give me one second.
They go right below the belly button, and they deliver the baby, and therefore she doesn't have to give birth. It's technically birth, but it's much safer. So that's actually safer than an abortion procedure. Sorry, Lily. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
What's your name?
Deedon.
Nice to meet you.
I would say with abortion, I think it's very complicated, but I think the issue that I have primarily with your stance of being pro-life, that there's no nuance. There's women who are being forced to travel hundreds of miles to access abortion care, even in cases of rape in certain states that they're not giving any sort of allowance for that. And I think, a lot of people who are pro-life, they say that they're pro-life, but I feel like they're really pro-birth, because with firearms, the United States has some of the highest firearm deaths out of OECD nations, right? And we can acknowledge that that's for children who are actually living and breathing. So I feel like abortion, while yeah, it is, I can definitely see your point. I just think that it should be allowed in some circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to get into the gun violence stuff later, but I want to really stay focused on abortion.
Right.
You can say you see my point. Can you see the world also where, since we know it's a human life, that it should be illegal since we don't allow murder in our society?
Well, that's where I have an issue, because abortion is not being done willy-nilly. It's like the life of the mother is always.
How many abortions do you think we have every day in America? Just guess.
I'm not sure.
Guess.
I'm honestly not sure. Maybe, I don't know, 1,000?
4,000 a day. So
4,000.
it is kind of willy-nilly. We have 1.6. Sorry. Hello.
I just want to clarify, the thing that you're aiming for is less abortion, right? That would be what you would want, or at least no abortion.
Eventually, it's also a protection of those that can't protect themselves. But yes, and that's why after the reversal of Roe versus Wade, we saw abortions go down dramatically in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi. We saw thousands of babies that are now alive and well that are able to have amazing lives thanks to the reversal of Roe versus Wade.
I don't think a lot of that is true.
Well, it is, but
it's not true, because when you make abortion illegal, it doesn't actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
That's a nice talking point. In Texas, the numbers show differently. The birth rate has gone up.
Yeah, legal goes down, but illegal abortions still happen. Abortions still happen outside of whatever data you're showing.
That's not true, but let's just say, well, if you
40?
If you want to, well, first of all, if you count the abortion pill, you're right, but that's a separate thing than a chemical abortion and surgical abortion are different things. And I'm not debating you, I'm debating her. So if you want to do the flags and come back in, try and be faster next time. So let me ask you this. So the question is, we should try to limit unjust suffering of human beings, right?
Sure.
Okay, that's my position, is that there's unjust suffering of anywhere between 1.4 to 1.6 million abortions a year of human beings that are being massacred in the womb. And so that's not a women's rights issue, that's not a men's rights issue, that's just a human rights issue.
Okay, the best way to decrease abortions happening is proper sex education. Limiting abortion and making abortion illegal does not actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
So what is your evidence of that?
What is my evidence of that?
Because we have increased sex education in the last 30 years.
Our sex education is so bad in America.
Well, by bad, what do you mean by that? We have more access to birth control for young kids. We have more kids that are learning to use birth control at a younger age. We have more of that in our public school system, and we've seen all the trends actually go in a negative direction. So, in fact, we see that the more sex education there is, the more disturbing those trends are. So you say that, let me ask just one more thing. You say that if we make abortion illegal, people will still do it. Should we then just make gang violence legal because
No, I'm saying if you actually wanted to decrease the amount of abortions that happen, you wouldn't be advocating for to make abortion illegal. You'd be advocating for all of these other things.
Does that logic apply to stealing, looting, kidnapping, arson, and murder?
Well, actually, it does, because those are results of different societal issues that you should be educating yourself on, rather than making it illegal on the front.
Should we make kidnapping, arson, burglary, murder legal because they're symptoms of something else?
We should be helping society heal from those things.
You got to answer the question. We want less of those things. Should we just make them legal and we'll get less looting?
You know, actually, I'm gonna let someone else.
Thank you very much. Hi, Parker. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Big TikTok guy here.
So, pedophiles, people who were married to children in the past and normalized in that society, should they go to prison?
Should pedophiles?
If you could go back in time, would you put those pedophiles in prison that married those children because it was normalized? They were deceived into thinking it's okay. Would you put them in prison?
You got to slow down.
Sorry.
Pedophiles should get the death penalty.
No, so you'd go back in the past, you'd give them the death penalty, even though they were deceived into thinking it was okay. But you said people who get abortions who are women shouldn't go to prison.
But it's not currently illegal.
Okay, regardless.
Pedophilia
at that time, it wasn't.
No, I would not go back and retroactively enforce laws where things were currently not illegal.
You wouldn't put pedophiles in prison in the past.
Hold on a second. When was it illegal? When was it legal in America?
Well, child marriage was legal in America throughout the early 1900s, and especially throughout most of society for thousands of years, especially in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
Hold on a second. So, where is the Levitical law that allows you to marry a child?
Oh, yeah.
Can you name the verse?
Well, I can't name the verse, but the particular conditions that are enlisted in the Bible are that you have to be physical maturity and emotional maturity, which is extremely vague and throughout society has been seen to be met at puberty.
There is not a verse, but let's kind of go
back.
Okay,
so when is the age of consent under your view?
Let's go back to, generally agreed upon it's 18 years old. But let me ask you
because you don't go based upon what's generally agreed, you go based on the Bible.
I say 18 years old, but let me ask you a question.
Where's that in the Bible?
When does life begin?
Conception.
Like conception, great. So good. So should we protect all life at conception?
I care about sentient life, not
Sentient.
cellular
So
life.
when do brainwaves start?
Do you think brain dead people should be able to pull the plug on, like a family should be able to pull the plug on an individual in the family that's brain dead?
You got to answer the question. When do brainwaves start?
You can see brainwaves around 6 to 8 weeks, which in brain dead individual there are brainwaves as well. So the brainwaves necessary to produce a subjective experience are met until around 18 through 26 weeks in the womb.
Can you see it from my perspective? That at 6 to 8 weeks, those brain waves will actually increase, not decrease, if allowed the process of development to continue.
Did you know those same EEG scans exist in brain dead people that you don't think are sentient?
But the difference with the brain dead people is that the likelihood of those brain waves actually increasing is very low at 6 to 8 weeks, when by 15 weeks they can hear the mom's
impossible.
voice.
It's irreversible sensation. That's what brain death is. I
Hold on,
didn't know that.
But no,
it's not coma.
But you're doing a red herring. Go back to
no, it's not. What's a red herring?
A red herring is where you avoid the topic and you say something that is adjacent or symmetrical to what I'm saying, but not actually what I'm saying.
You mean a reductio ad absurdum? That's not a red herring.
A 6 to 8 week baby, if they're allowed to continue to develop, what ends up happening?
At a certain point, it will become a sentient being in the future. The same way that if I keep engaging in sex with my girlfriend, there'll be a baby in the future. Yet I don't care about the
unless
sperm.
you're infertile, which we don't know. But let's see the process of development, right? Why
do you want to answer my question?
Why do you have the ability or the right?
Should those child P3os go to prison?
The process of
should the pedophiles go to prison?
From 1904. How many pedophiles are alive from 1904?
They're not alive, right? I meant like if you can go back in the past, hypothetically speaking, and you could put them in prison. Would you put them in prison?
I would have killed them myself if I was alive.
Okay, so then you don't apply it based upon what people are deceived to believe. You apply it based upon what you consider to be moral. So the women who had abortions, you think they should go to prison. So why should women who get abortions go to prison, but someone like my mom who told me that Santa Claus exists shouldn't go to prison because they're both sense?
This is not going to be a constructive debate if you keep on talking over me.
Well, I was finishing my statement. You were talking over me. Go for it.
Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think it would be a good thing if we had less abortions in America?
It depends on the context. Like, are the abortions prior to sentience?
Yes.
Because I think
all abortions.
No, it would not be necessarily
are
better
you against
unless it is the
abortion?
case that the people didn't want the abortions and it would be negatively impactful to their health, medically speaking.
Are you against late-term abortion?
After sentience, yes.
Okay, so you believe in an 8-week abortion ban?
Yeah. No, I don't. Sorry, I believe in an abortion ban after 18 through 26 weeks.
Okay, that's a more reasonable position. I have to give you credit for that.
It's similar to Trump's. 15 weeks?
Yeah, so why do you think that most people don't share your view on that?
Well, people just don't really know what sentience is. There's not a lot of conversation about abortion. And these conversations are very difficult. Like, they're conceptually hard to go through. And I understand why a lot of people don't understand their positions on it.
So
but I think people
are where most
You're cutting me off.
Americans
I thought we weren't cutting people off.
I was actually complimenting you. How are you? Nice to see you.
So I just have one question. There's, like, in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do think that a couple cases it is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs, that is the only case where abortion should be allowed.
Think there
but people say it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth, and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes. The baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in rape. One is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
Your daughter was probably hopefully conceived by a somewhat loving couple.
Was conceived by rape? Which one was conceived by rape?
You don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights and it's all human beings.
But it doesn't matter. It's about your daughter who has to give birth to it and is going to be tortured by that for the rest of her life. That's going to take away every freedom she's ever going to have. That's going to ruin her life. She's going to grow up and she's going to be attached to another thing.
The point is how you were conceived is irrelevant what human rights you get.
But
hold on one second. If a person conceived in walks down the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights.
It's not about that person.
The worst thing to do to the daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go murder the being inside of you.
They wouldn't even know. Like, listen.
They wouldn't know?
Listen.
But wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying we're going to do evil and then murder the being because we're going to pander to the evil? No. What makes the West great is that we do good after evil, not evil after evil.
It's not about the being and the cells.
No,
It's not about. No. I'm
I know,
speaking.
we're-
No, I'm speaking.
we're both-
No, I'm
we're both
speaking.
clumps
No,
of
I'm
cells.
speaking. No,
We're
I'm
both
speaking. No,
clumps of
I'm
cells,
speaking. No,
okay?
I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking.
Want to say it one more time?
No, I'm speaking.
Got it.
Thank you. So it's not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
No,
about
I
the
know you
person.
don't care about them.
No. I'm talking about the person who is dealing with the pregnancy. I am not talking about the cells. I don't
the
care. No,
cells.
listen. The fetus, the whatever. I don't care about that right now until
Whatever.
it is
Wow.
formed.
If
There is a 5-year-old child who is pregnant and the baby is 2 weeks in utero,
can't get pregnant.
actually they have, and they have given birth. There is
5-year-olds have given pregnant.
There
I
is
stand
one.
corrected.
There is one recorded case of a 5-year-old girl who gave birth.
Is that common?
Yes, it's common. 5-year-olds get sometimes, and if they get pregnant,
5-year-olds
I think they should be
pregnant,
able to have medical access to something that could save not only just their life, but like their livelihood.
How many, I'm curious.
I hope your daughter lives a very happy life and gets away from you.
Okay, so that is really nasty. And so her belief system, just so we're clear, is that.
The time's up.
Yeah, no, I got it. It's fine. I mean, it's insanely nasty, and we'll talk again. My next claim is that college is a scam. Hello.
Hello,
I'm Charlie.
hello.
What's your name?
I'm Maddox. How are you
Nice to
doing?
meet you. Good.
So, college is a scam.
Well, let's define our terms. College being traditional four-year college.
Of course.
University, not community college or technical college.
Of course.
A scam, if we can agree on a definition, is where a majority of people who will go through the institution or business, they're not getting their money's worth, their time's worth, and they're being deceived when they sign up. So do we agree on those terms?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Well, what would further definitions, what do you think is the purpose of going to college?
The purpose of college should be a traditional liberal arts education, the pursuit of what is good, true, and beautiful.
Okay.
That's not what it is. It should be the betterment of yourself and your soul, nurturing your character and becoming a better citizen, understanding the deeper things in life. At the very least, though, it should be preparing one for the job market. Do you think college does those things?
I think it does, but I would add on to your point that I think not only is it for the betterment of yourself, but it's for the betterment of society. We need historians. We need certain majors that may not make as much money. I think those are for the betterment of society. Would you agree that there's some majors that may not make money, but are still essential to society?
It depends. Do you think that getting a degree in gender studies is good for society?
I would agree, yeah. Why would studying gender not be good for society?
Well, learning that men can give birth is not exactly a good use of time, is it?
Is that what they're teaching in college right
now? A
now?
lot of colleges, yeah. According to the Center for Disease Control, they no longer say women can give birth. They say birthing persons.
Okay.
Do you think men can give birth?
Do I think men can give birth? I think that...
yes or no question?
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they can give birth.
Assigned male at birth? So people are not male at birth?
I think that a person...
See, you're evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
College is a scam?
You're lacking in a lot of wisdom.
Well, here, we can continue right now. So, gender studies, do you think that studying gender is not essential? Should we not deepen our understanding
of gender?
I
don't think gender,
I'm confused.
we're going to get there later. I don't think gender exists. I think that there are two sexes, infinite personalities, and no genders. However, let's get back to the core contention.
Well, here, can I ask my question again real quick?
Well, I'm going to get back to my core contention. A scam. So the majority of kids that go to college, if they end up getting a job at all, they end up getting a job that does not require a college degree.
Do you think that certain jobs that may not associate with a direct major can incorporate skills that you learn from a major? I think I'm an econ major, and depending on what job I do in the future, I can still use the skills learned from that.
So tell me about Milton Friedman.
Tell me about Milton Friedman. He is an economist from...
How about Thomas Sowell?
Thomas Sowell.
Ludwig von Mises.
Ludwig... Well, I will say that I'm a first year.
How about...
I'd love to see you answer the gender studies question.
We will get there later. That's what psychedelics are for. Who's next?
Well, I think it's difficult to think about just one major, thinking about just gender studies. Like, sure, like not everyone should be a gender studies major. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need everything. However, why does it matter if 10 people want to be a gender studies major and it matters to them? Like, not everyone can be a lawyer, not everyone can be a doctor. There needs to be some people, and you know what? Yeah, it sucks that some people do go to college and get a degree and then they end up not in a workforce for that. But I don't think that has to do with like college was a scam. It's more like maybe that just wasn't the path for them, or that life choice was just too hard to get for them. But some people are able to go to college and get a degree and use it, and that is super important, because imagine if no doctors went to college, they're just like, I think I can do it.
Well, of course, doctors and lawyers need credentialing, right? But
college.
Well, less than 5% of all people that go to college end up studying medicine or in legal. The vast majority go into soft social sciences, communications, or the humanities. So you're in college, or have been, is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you forced to take classes that you think are a waste of time?
Yeah, I'm forced. You know what?
Hold on. So they're taking your money and they're forcing you that they're a waste of time. That's kind of scammy, right?
Oh, I think that some classes.
Ooh, some. So you have to probably go in debt, right?
Depends.
Okay. Are you going into debt?
No.
Okay, well, that's good.
I picked a school that actually offered me a scholarship.
Oh, so someone else is paying for your college.
Good. Oh, I don't know. Depends on me. I mean, that's a school that wanted to give me an opportunity. But that's not what we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about the scam element, right? So you said that there are some classes that if students had to go into debt or had to pay for, would not be a good use of their time. So it's not representing students well.
Well, do you think like high school is a scam then? Because I had to pay for high school, but I'm not going to use AP US history in my psychology degree ever.
Well, I think AP US history is actually a really good use of time, knowing about your country and your history. And
but I'm not going to use that in my career. That's what we're talking about in the career path for college.
Let's go back to what I said, right? We said traditional college, right? Four-year college. And what a scam is, or a majority of the people that will go through the enterprise, the business, or the institution are not getting their time worth or their money worth. So therefore, I go back to my core contention, which is a majority of kids that exit college will not use their degree at all when they go to find a job.
But if you ask them, do you think college was a scam? I don't think majority of them are going to say yes. Some of them will. Some of them are going to
not everyone who's being scammed actively knows they're being scammed. People still buy erectile dysfunction drugs off the internet, and they get scammed.
Okay, that's their own personal choice, though.
Of course people have choices to be scammed. I'm not saying they don't have a choice. I'm making an observation analysis of the institution. For example, flying Spirit Airlines, kind of a scam.
Okay.
Should be shut down. There is some, kind of agree. There are some things in life we have to take a step back and like, oh, the consumer is not being well served.
You want to shut down a bunch of majors in colleges that you think are scams?
No, I never said that.
So what would your proposal be to fix the scam of college?
There is no proposal. I'm simply, the contention is college is a scam.
So then what's the point of that statement?
To get you to agree.
But like, what would that do? Like, what do you want to fix in college that's going to help it not be a scam?
We can get to step interval 2 as long as you can agree that college is a scam.
No, because not for everyone. For me, I'm using a degree that's going to help people make better.
What are you studying?
Psychology and criminal justice.
Okay, so, and it's being paid for by somebody else, which is fine. That's good. So psychology and criminal justice. Do you absolutely need to get a degree to be able to get into this? You do?
Yeah, I mean, like I could, I guess, study it all on my own, but it's just like makes more sense to go and have all these experiences. I'm getting like wonderful experiences, internships all through my college.
So
that's helping me go through it. No, it's just that this is a pathway that's really helping me.
So you know there's 11 million jobs open in the country right now that don't require a college degree.
Okay, then the people who want those jobs can go get those jobs. I'm not one of those people.
Do you think we push too many kids into college?
No.
Okay, so the national graduation rate is 59%. If I ask the room, everyone would agree that they know some people that went to college that did not graduate.
Yeah.
Right? So we're probably sending too many kids into this institution.
But if they might have been able to do it, then like, why is it not worth it to try and to push yourself to get a better education and go further in your life?
Leaving with debt's a bad thing, right?
But some people are able to work through that, and it's like an opportunity thing.
But when an institution is multi-trillion dollars in scale, involves 23 million of our citizens every 4 years, and is not actually bettering the country. For example, if college was so great, we would see incomes going up for Gen Z and millennials. We'd see more people able to own homes.
Okay.
Kids wouldn't. I'm telling you, this is so ableist what you're doing, by the way. I'm telling you, right? Hello, what's your name?
Alize.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so let me start by saying, well, first of all, you said we're sending too many kids to college. Who's sending them? Who's forcing them?
Guidance counselors, parents, community.
Are they forcing them? Are they signing them up themselves?
Hold on. Forcing, I never said forcing, but you can have nudging and forcing are two different things. We also subsidize college through the federal government. So you guys get subsidized interest rates, scholarships, and loans. So the taxpayer is nudging students and gently and sometimes forcefully pushing them into college. And you would agree it is an expectation if you grow up in an upper middle class home to go to college. You would agree with that. So there's a societal cultural push.
I didn't grow up in an upper middle class, so.
Okay, well, but would you see it from there? Would you see how that argument is correct?
I guess there might be a pressure, but no one's sending them. You're sending yourself.
Well, of course.
Well, we're all over the age of 18, right?
Right.
When you're in college, so you're sending yourself.
Right.
But that's besides the
But
point.
let's be honest. I mean, that's a silly argument. Yes, they're technically sending themselves. I was just at Arizona State University move-in. Everyone had their parents there. They were co-signing on loans. They were there helping pay for stuff. Parents, the ones that are still checking in. They're the ones that largely subsidize their lifestyle. Hey, mom, can you Venmo me $3,000 so that I can go out on an extra night? Yes, of course, when you're 18 years old, you're the one signing on the dotted line. But there's enormous pressure and nudging and cultural expectation that students go to college.
Right. Okay. I think the problem here is that it's up to the person. You can't just go to college and expect to come out with a degree. You have to put the work in. You have to put the work in. You have to make connections. And some people might think college is just 4 years of partying and drinking and making friends, whatever. But you have to actually put the work in. And if you put the work in, you make connections, and you can find a job right outside of college.
Well, no, not doubting that you can't find a job. It's just that 52% of them get a job that doesn't require them to get the degree.
But most jobs offer incentive pay if you have a degree. And 86% of people with a degree get paid more than people with just a high school diploma.
That's only if you count the ones at the top 10% of income earners. So not if you count humanities, not if you count people that study in the social sciences. If you count medicine or you count law, that's absolutely correct. However, the vast majority of kids that go to college are not studying medicine, law, engineering, business, finance. They're studying communications, social sciences, or humanities, which are on the lower income ladder. So as I mentioned, we have 11 million job openings in this country right now that do not require a college degree. I'm guessing in this room that within 4 to 5 years, you guys would kill to be able to earn $80 to $100,000 a year, yes? Do you know that in states across the country and in cities, they're offering apprenticeships to become plumbers and welders, electricians? That doesn't require for your college degree. Entrance salary, $80,000 a year.
But again, 86% of people with a bachelor's degree earn more than people with a high school diploma. No, 86% of all people with a bachelor's degree.
But if you take out the top 10%, it's actually lower than those that don't go to college. So the reason that number, that average goes up, is because the doctors and the engineers and the lawyers are the ones that bring that average so significantly up. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that there's any waste at all in the current college model?
Do I think there's any waste? I don't think we need all of it.
Okay, good. What part?
Well, you have to start with your core classes. And it's like high school. You're taking the same classes in high school.
So do you think, like, for example, do you think that... It's okay. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I'm Emily. Nice to meet you.
Emily. Thank you.
Earlier said that about 5% of college students are going into fields of like medicine, law, and engineering,
Let me clarify.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
As far as they're going to be able to get postgraduate degrees. So they will go all the way up and get their Juris Master, or they will end up passing the bar or becoming a doctor, right?
Okay.
So it's easy to say doctors, lawyers, but healthcare professionals, if you count nurses or people that work in healthcare, that number is closer to 20-25%.
Okay, so 5%. Who here has a doctor? Can you like raise your hand if you have a doctor?
Like a medical
doctor? Yeah. Like a medical doctor.
I do,
yeah, you do. Okay. 5% is still a lot of people, right?
Of course, but that means 95% might not need to exist at the institution.
I don't think that's the takeaway. Just because 5%, which is still millions of Americans all across the board.
But if you were to say, hey, we only have medical schools, only have legal, we can get rid of gender studies, get rid of... So what's the contention?
Well, gender studies is actually, if you look on like the pre-law track, gender studies is a pre-law track. If you're going to be a lawyer, you have to study gender studies and other social cultural studies.
That proves my point that college is a scam. Why would a lawyer need to study gender studies? Shouldn't a lawyer know the law?
It's a social science. The law, you think the law isn't inadvertently affected by social, cultural, and gender norms?
Of course it is, but shouldn't they first know the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers?
We learned that in high school.
Okay, so what is Marbury versus Madison?
I haven't been in high school for a really long time. I'm not trying to be a lawyer.
You learned it.
Yeah.
So
high schools are like, it's public high school.
What was Brown versus the Board of Education?
That's for desegregating schools.
Okay, good.
Yeah, which Project 2025 wants to like defund the Department of Education.
Who wrote the Constitution?
Founding Fathers, 1778.
Names.
I don't know.
It wasn't 1778.
I don't know.
Close,
yeah.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. Well, this is the point: is that you don't learn it in high school. You don't even learn it in undergraduate, and our law school's not learning it. So maybe.
Well, I'm not in law school.
No. The point is that you were saying they already learned it, and they don't. I don't want this to be a pop quiz or trivia. I didn't go to college, and I'm asking you very basic civic questions, and you're paying to go to college, and you can't answer them.
That's so fair, but I think...
Thank you, sorry.
I have a question. Is church a scam?
No, because church is honoring the divine and the eternal and the good and the true and the beautiful. Is college?
But it deceives people because you give a promise of everlasting life which you don't actually get because Christianity is contradictory, logically speaking.
Do you want to get into a theological debate, or are we going to talk
Absolutely.
about college? Because
Both.
I completely disagree. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and we will have eternal life.
Okay, so how, if there is a perfect being that created the world, how could we exist in an imperfect world?
I'm happy to have this discussion. Can we go back to college, though? Because do you think, because that's a little bit of a red herring and a little bit of a rabbit hole. Tell me what that has to do with college being a scam.
Well, I do think college can be a scam for certain people. I don't think it's a scam for everyone, though.
So
for people like me, college was very beneficial for me.
For sure.
Well,
Who is it a scam,
I'm asking you, based upon your definition of a scam, do you consider the Christian church a scam?
Of course not. It's giving people eternal life and teaches them
Wait,
goodness.
But if Christianity is false, then that's a deception.
Okay, but you think it's false. I don't. We can agree to disagree. Also,
I'm not agreeing to disagree on that.
But we're not talking about the church. We're talking about college, right? So again, also, people are not paying to go to church, are they?
But it's a reductio ad absurdum. Do you know what that is?
Ask the question.
What's a reductio ad absurdum?
That's a Latin term that means reducing down to the lowest common belief, correct?
Yeah, so I'm taking
Am I right? I didn't go to college. I knew that.
I'm taking your particular position.
Let me ask you a question without you interrupting me. Do you pay to go to church?
No, I don't. Some people do. They're forced to pay based upon their particular denomination.
And today, do you pay to go to church?
Depending on the church.
No, you don't. Do you have to go to debt to go to church?
In some circumstances, people do because they have to give up 10% of their income to be able to do that, which people can't afford.
Circumstance?
Well, they're LDS. You understand that a lot of LDS churches specifically require 10%.
Yeah, they don't require it. And what you're talking about
in plenty of places.
Well, you're asking mainline Christian.
Isn't there stigmatization
belief.
if you don't do that?
Okay, you're good at interrupting, not good at answering.
Well, you haven't answered any of my questions yet.
I did say no. Church is not a scam. Church is the bride of Christ. College is a scam, and college is people are going into debt. They're paying a lot of money. But I want to ask you a question. You said it's a scam for some people. Who's it a scam for?
Yeah, for people who specifically aren't ever going to use it, never use any of the knowledge that they retain from it. Well, you say 52%. I don't think you can qualify 52% of people don't do that.
What number would you say?
For example, my job, that's not going to be recommended as an economics degree. Most economics majors are going to go into TikTok debating online. But I use the information that I learned in college in my job on a daily basis. So I still use relevant qualities that are then used in my job later on.
What percentage of kids that go to college are being scammed?
I don't think anyone knows that.
Because
it's dependent upon an individual. I have no clue.
Shouldn't we try to find out?
Well, if you'd like to find some empirics on that, I'd love to see it.
I just did. So 41%.
Wait, that's not a source?
Well, the Department of Education is a source.
No, the Department of Education doesn't say 41% of people it was a scam for, or that they didn't use any of the information they learned in college.
You are using.
So are you saying none of them used any of the information?
Can I say 3 words without you interrupting me?
Do any of them use the information later on?
Can I say 5 words without interrupting me?
Well, you've interrupted me multiple times.
So since you say college is a scam for some people, it's a ballpark. For the kids that do not graduate, 41% that ended up going and not graduating, were they scammed?
No, just because you go and pay for a particular thing, but then you don't follow through with it, doesn't mean you were scammed.
Maybe they were
You
misled.
decided to pay for it. Oh, you could say some people are misled. Some people are stigmatized into these things.
Do you think that
some people are misled in the church? And you never answered my question on that because you're trying to take that time down so that you don't have to answer the question about Christianity because you know your worldview looks terrible.
Well, what about Christianity do you want me to answer? We're talking
I think it's false. Or because I was saying, is church a scam? If church is a scam, that'd be predicated off of the idea that you're deceived into believing that there's everlasting life specifically from Christianity. So Christianity has to be true. So can you grant that? What's the argument?
Christianity is true. Did the resurrection?
What's the argument?
You're going to let me finish 3 words in a row?
Appreciate it.
Okay. Did the resurrection happen?
I don't think the resurrection occurred.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. A perfect creator, is it possible for them to not desire something imperfect?
Is a perfect creator, I'm sorry, what?
There's a perfect creator that desires everything that's just perfect. How can they desire something imperfect, flawed?
Well, because maybe they want to get to know themselves. Maybe they want to see their own creation. Maybe they love
their creation. They want to get to know them? He's all-knowing.
Can I finish talking here? Okay, maybe because God loved the world so much that his creation, which rebelled against him, given agency and free will, rebelled against them, then got eternal life, what we actually deserve, and then sent his son on a rescue mission to save us from that. The church is the bride of Christ, will save us from damnation that we deserve. College is far from the bride of America. It's currently scamming the youth of this country and sending them into oblivion.
Didn't answer the question.
I did.
No, you didn't say how they could desire something imperfect.
Well, God can do anything.
We'll talk about that later.
God can do anything, so.
Even something logically contradictory?
No, it's not logically contradictory.
To desire something imperfect.
Can an unstoppable object hit a unmovable force?
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is an app and website that is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Their team of journalists believe that unbiased news should be the standard and not just the exception, so they report down the middle with facts, delivering news without bias, filter, or spin. Plus, their Media Mist tool allows you to discover news that's being underreported or not even reported at all by different sides of mainstream media. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. The work they're doing gives us a complete picture of the news straight from our phones and tablets with their app. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel, you're also supporting a group of journalists that are raising the bar on news and focusing on serving you unbiased, straight facts. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
Yeah, my next claim is that trans women are not women. Okay. What's your name?
Sam.
Nice to meet you. Let's define our terms. A woman is an adult female with XX chromosomes. You tell me, what is a woman?
I think a woman is somebody who identifies as a woman.
Got it. So that's not a definition. That's like identifies as a table. Give me an objective definition of
No,
how...
it's not. A table is an object.
Well,
a table can't identify as anything. It doesn't have choice.
You have to give me an objective definition of what a woman is.
If I decided right now that I wanted to identify as a woman, I would be a woman.
Okay, a woman is something that thinks they're a woman. That doesn't give me a definition. That's simply...
What would you consider a definition then?
An adult female with XX
No,
chromosomes.
no. I mean, like, what makes that a definition?
Hello.
Hi.
Juliana?
Juliana,
I remember,
yeah.
okay.
I don't necessarily think that you can define a woman just by her chromosomes. Women are so much more than that. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, colors. And I don't necessarily think that you can count out somebody who's trans just because they don't have a certain set of chromosomes. There are also people who are born, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. Intersex?
Yes.
So XXY or YYX?
Or just, or like
sure.
X0 with nothing.
So natural mutations upon the binary, essentially, right?
Yes. So,
but they don't have both sex organs that both operate, right?
Yeah, but that also I don't think necessarily works, right? Because if it's X,
one
just
is more
X,
dominant
and
than
there's
the other. So
okay,
you're either
that's-
more male or more female, right? So you might have both a penis and a vagina, but there's never been a case of someone who can impregnate themselves.
Okay. I also don't necessarily think that works for this situation, but I also want to say that one of my best friends is trans, and I would say that she's more of a woman than I am. I think that women define themselves by multiple things, not just their sex organs. If somebody asked me who I was as a woman, I would not say I have a vagina.
Totally fair. See, no, I think you said something smart. So you said that person is more of a woman than you are. Therefore, you're grading off a definition of something accomplishes womanhood. What is that?
I think well, that's the thing too, and I do think that gets a little complicated, right? Because there are social norms for a gender, but I do think we try to break that, right?
No, for sure, but you said that specific friend is more of a woman than you are. Why?
I think she's a better person than me. I think she lives life.
So women are better people?
She's a better woman than I am. I'm not saying women are better people.
But what makes a woman? Because you said she's more of a woman than you are, so I want to know what that definition is.
Right, okay. I'm gonna let somebody else go.
That's all good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Parker, what is a woman?
A woman is an adult human person that has a desire to be in accordance with a particular set of social and cultural norms that are typically associated with the female sex. Now, define a man. Define a man.
You're looking at one, XY chromosomes in a
Okay, but does God the Father have XY chromosomes prior to incarnation?
We literally have a religious topic
He's a father and he's him, but he's not a man?
We have a religious
Wait, so
later.
A man is someone with XY chromosomes, but he doesn't have XY chromosomes, yet he's still a man and he still uses preferred pronouns?
It's actually very interesting. In the original Hebrew, Adonai, do you know what Adonai is? It's the Hebrew word for God. It's actually genderless, but in the scriptures, they use he, right? And they use the masculine. Jesus Christ came to earth as a man, not as a woman, not as genderqueer. But let's go back to the...
But God the Father's a man, right? Because all fathers are men.
Well, first of all, there's a trinity. So God the Father is neither man nor woman. He is omniscient, omnipotent. He is all being on top of it.
So why do you use he?
Well, I did not. The scriptures do. You could use woman. You could say her. You could use him, but the way that the language is structured, again, it is so, God the Father is so above gender, it is so above any of our understanding.
And why use him?
Glory and understanding. Again, because you have to make a choice, either he or him or her in the original scriptures. Let's go back to. I'm happy
some
to get into
fathers
that,
aren't men and boys.
So I'm.
So some fathers
I'm
are not men and boys, not men or boys.
I'm sorry.
Some fathers are not male.
No, of course they are. I'm not.
Wait, so God the Father's a male?
Hold on, God the Father. So where do we get God the Father from? What Greek word?
From your scripture.
Well, from Abba, right, which is a very close personal term.
You're not answering my questions, and you're bringing up random language that doesn't matter.
Well, it actually does.
No, it doesn't.
But let me get down to the root of it,
because he's not a man. You know he's not a man under your worldview. You still use his preferred pronouns. You still call him a man.
Christ is a
man. You don't do that with trans people because you're transphobic. That's why.
Okay, got it. But Christ is a man. I'm happy to get into the sexuality and
Before
gender
incarnation, he's not.
of the Trinity. Okay.
Before incarnation, there's no penis. There's no XY chromosomes. There's no small gametes.
Hold on a second. Let's think about it. If that's correct, how is it then Jacob saw the face of God?
Okay, so if there's
hold on. If there was not before the incarnation, how did Jacob see the face of God? How did Jacob wrestle with God?
Characters can have faces without biology.
How did Jacob wrestle with God?
So okay, do you think that he has a body?
Well,
or was that a figurative notion of wrestle?
That's a mystery of the scriptures. I'm not here. Well, it is. I'm not here to debate theology. Can we go back to what we're talking about?
Does he actually have biology? You keep trying to pivot because you know this debunks you.
Well,
what biology does your God have?
Well, the one of Christ our Lord.
No, I meant before incarnation.
Well, to be honest, I don't quite know, and I don't think the scriptures are.
So you don't know what a man is?
Well,
you can't define what a man is?
It's a little opaque. Again, you're looking at a man.
But your video, the largest video on TikTok is, what is a woman, 20 million views, but you don't know what a man is in your own worldview?
I said you're looking at a man, right?
Wait, but God the Father doesn't meet that criteria.
Am I looking at a man?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Just making
sure.
A
man that's beating you in a debate right now.
Okay, that's fine. So let me ask you a question, though. So do you think that anybody can become a woman?
I think that anyone who meets my criteria is a woman.
What's your criteria again?
Again, adult human person that has a desire to be in accordance with a particular set of social and cultural norms that are typically associated with the female sex.
Can society ever be wrong?
Sure, but like it's a desire to be in accordance with a set of social and cultural norms.
Can I become black if I wear blackface?
No, because it's not a desire that you have to be in accordance with a particular set of social and cultural norms.
What if somebody wants to be black?
Because race is defined phenotypically based upon the expression to other people.
But by some standard, you're judging that.
Do you think there's a phenotypical expression of someone who's white and someone who's black? Like, I see you're white because of your phenotypical expression.
Right. So, but do you think, Rachel Dolezal that said she is black and culturally black, is she black?
Does she have phenotypically characteristics we would associate with people
Define
who are
phenotypical.
black?
I'm not sure what that word means.
It's going to be the expression.
So
of
melanin
particular
content in one's skin?
Yes.
Okay. So she could pass as a black person.
Wait, so she doesn't have the melanin content?
She's borderline.
No?
Heavily.
Okay, so then she's not black.
Okay, so you're able to say who is black and not black?
That's how we define it in society, no shit.
Okay, got it. So, but is there an objective definition of who is black?
Wait, language is all subjective. Linguistics professionals indicate it's subjective.
Language is all subjective?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Every
really?
word you just used was created by other human beings that are engaging in conversation.
Got it. No, now
you might think it's created by God, but even then it's still subjective.
Got it. But now we're getting somewhere.
God's a subject.
Now we're getting somewhere. Is the word and the value behind murder objective or subjective?
Well, I think morality is subjective, but you think it's subjective too because it comes from God.
That's interesting.
Wait, does it come from God or independent of God?
Well, no, of course it comes from God. It's transcendent.
That's subjective. That's subjective. Yes, it is. No. If it comes from God, it's specifically subjective. If it comes independent of God, then it's objective. No, what you just told me is also compatible with moral anti-realism.
So let's go back to the Ten Commandments.
You don't understand metaethics.
Well, hold on a second.
What does subjective morality mean? What does it mean?
Subjective morality means that it comes in everybody's own opinion, their own form.
True dependent upon a stance.
Again,
God is a stance, and that's the truth of morality.
So if let's believe, do you believe if everybody believed in the concept of God, the transcendent God, that there was a 10 commandments and we should live by them, right? Is that objective morality?
No. Just because people agree doesn't make it objective.
Then what,
again, independent of a stance.
What is
agreeance is not independent of a stance.
What is objective morality then? Sorry, thanks. We'll be back at it next time.
Mason, good to meet you.
How are you? Nice to meet you. Okay.
So I think it's a little scummy that you're plagiarizing the whole Matt Walsh thing. Like your thing is the worship of Israel and everything like that.
I pay him royalties.
Okay, for sure. Well, do you want to talk about sex first, or do you want to talk about gender?
I don't think gender exists. I think it's a term that John Money and Judith Butler created over the last 40 years that basically is a filler for personality.
Okay, well, if we're talking about sex, which it seems like you're saying is the exact same thing, would you say sex is binary by definition?
For sure, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're already incorrect. Like, sex is not binary, it's bimodal. So if we look at a distribution graph, we're going to see people in two camps majority of the time, but there are going to be externalities on both ends of the spectrum and in the middle.
For example, like
so we already talked about intersex.
Right. However, with intersex, though, they are mutations of a binary, correct?
No, we're talking about.
Hold on, but we're
talking about an entire spectrum.
Which sex
you're by definition
dominant,
defeating your expression of what a binary is by saying that there are externalities.
But let me ask you a question. Like XXY,
Charlie,
for example,
you're trying to create this own box and then use any examples that are outside of that box to justify that box again.
You brought up intersex.
We're talking about reality.
You brought up intersex.
Okay.
What sex organs? Which one is more dominant?
What do you mean?
In an XXY situation.
Can you explain your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have more female characteristics and male characteristics in an XXY, or it might be YYX. One of the two. The point is that you do not have both.
We could see people with female reproductive organs that have XY, and we can see the vice versa, people with male reproductive organs that have XX.
So I think you said something about gender, though. I think that's more interesting to get into.
Okay.
Do you understand how the conversation?
So we're moving off of sex because you're ceding that argument.
No, I'm not ceding it.
Okay.
You want to keep going into it?
We can if you'd like.
Okay. So besides male and female, what categories exist?
We have people that are intersex. We have people that are on the other ends of the bimodal distribution graph. Are you aware what bimodal means versus binary?
Somewhat of an understanding. Yeah.
Okay, well, so you can be presented with a graph after this by the people that you brought with you. But it's actually a bimodal distribution.
Just like constantly going to condescending type talk is not going to be fruitful.
I'm just trying to match your energy with the people that you treated that were trying to have a conversation.
Got it. So trans women are not women. Do you agree with that?
I would say that trans women are women because people that exist under the category of women, people that exist under the category of men are still humans.
Got it. So that category, how is that defined?
Well, I wouldn't limit it to things like genitals or things like chromosomes, which it seems like you want to do. What type of genitals would you say I have since you're so obsessed with genitals?
I'm not obsessed with genitals, but I could do a blood sampling right now and I could see exactly what you are because every single one of your trillions of cells are either coded with XX or XY, no matter how much surgery or whatever. I think that you are man, but you could fool me. You could take hormones, you could play camouflage. Like I could fool you to be Hispanic if I had the right Hollywood makeup director. That doesn't mean that you are the thing though.
But you're going from an objective biological perspective, which we've already talked about with sex. I'm talking about a social construct or a social utility.
Yeah, so
like if we were at a restaurant, right? I'm sitting down you're a man. And I'm sitting down at the table and you're telling the waiter, hey, I want to go sit with blank. What would you use?
With you?
He doesn't know my name. Yeah. Well, I'm sitting over there.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
That guy. You're going to typically use he or him, or you're going to say that guy, like you just said.
Correct.
Because you're ascribing the male gender to me based on my performative characteristics.
I say I could be an error. Maybe you are a biological woman.
And then you'd correct yourself, right?
Maybe not.
So that's what that is exactly what we're trying to say.
So the question is that, do you think that womanhood can then be assumed just through costume design?
It's not costume design.
What is it then?
It's performative social characteristics.
So you could
yes,
act
that's
it.
what gender is.
Okay,
great
got
job.
it. So you could it's like a theater troupe.
It's not a theater troupe. So these are social. These are social
womanhood
categories.
can be appropriated.
No, they're categories. That's what it is.
So there's nothing inherent about the chromosomes. There's nothing that.
Correct. Yes.
Wow, we disagree. So there's nothing inherent about having a period or being able to give birth or the specific hormonal makeup.
In different cultures, we've ascribed that to womanhood. If you go back to other cultures spanning thousands of years, you'll see a difference when it comes to those.
Like for example, the Mayans had plenty of people that were schizophrenic, right? So that means nothing to me, right?
Okay, we have people that say they're hearing things from God. Would you say that's schizophrenic?
Well, not necessarily. It built Western civilization and common law and due process and individual rights.
I just wanted to hear that your
defense of the unborn and the greatest civilization ever. You know, that voice from God happened to build the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. That's fine.
I think the Mayans would say the same thing. That's the problem with presuppositional arguments.
Yeah, let's go down.
Is that you could say anything.
Can we go visit?
I mean, God's telling me right now that you're a
nation?
fish. Do you think that's real?
Can we go visit the Mayan nation? They didn't last that long, did they?
Yeah, over killing and violence, and you can justify that if you like.
You mean all the child sacrifice?
And this is the condescending tone that why I'm trying to match it is because
you mean all the child sacrifice the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans did on the top of temples? Great civilization.
Do you want to go back into the Old Testament? Let's bring Parker up in here and talk about all the child marriage, and we can talk about the justification of rape.
Where was child sacrifice ever in the Bible?
When Isaac was almost fucking sacrificed by his dad.
He wasn't though, because at the beginning of Genesis.
Yeah, so God just said like, nah, just kidding, dog. Don't actually kill your son.
Because at the beginning of Genesis 16 said, I'm going to test
to prove
Abraham.
Obedience. Yes,
yeah, that's right. So now you know it. So actually, there was no child sacrifice in the Bible. It was a prohibition on child sacrifice in the Bible. But anyway, that's a little bit of a rabbit hole. Do you understand at least? Can you sympathize with our perspective?
Okay.
That.
I'll calm it down a little bit. I apologize for the condescension.
No, it's fine. I mean, you're doing it's fine. But like, did you see where this could get wildly out of control? At least on the extreme.
I don't see how it would get out of control because
even in sports, for example, you think that there's no.
So this is something that we might be able to agree upon, right? Sports were not archaeologically dug up, right? The rules of sports, they are things that we've created as a society. We have decided as a society the most fair categorization is male sports and female sports. Now, as we've been able to understand or at least bring into the forefront people who don't identify with the binary, we still have to allow all people that are women in the women's category and all men that are men in the women's category. That includes cis and trans. If you'd like to change that category because you think it's unfair, we can do that. That's what's awesome about arbitrary rules is we can decide hormones.
I might not know this, but like when the Greeks started the Olympics 2,000 years ago, did they have like a bunch of dudes wrestling with women?
I don't even think they allowed women to compete.
Well,
I might be wrong on that,
but that kind of proves the point, though, that there was a...
Yeah, and what did we do to allow women? We changed the rules.
Right, no, but that, by definition, therefore, there is something from body composition, bone mass, lung density, testosterone, and estrogen rates. Your endocrinology is different.
So if you'd say the majority of males in the bimodal distribution graph, we're going back to that, you can say, hey, we want this level of hormones in this particular category, and we can separate it by hormones. I agree with you that a majority of men or majority of cis men are...
You got to be like 99.9%.
I don't know. Ronda Rousey could kick my ass. I will say that.
No, for sure. But I mean, but could she kick Conor McGregor's ass?
Well, now we're talking about the peaks, right?
But she's at the peak of
cisgender.
No, because you're talking about the peaks of two different categories in the same sort of...
Right, because why? She's a cis woman.
Well, she's a cis woman and
he's a cis man.
But yes, and he could kick her tail, right?
Yes, I would agree.
Oh, okay, for sure, right?
Because cis men and cis women have different hormone levels. If you want to change the hormones, we can change the categorization. But you're saying that you want men and women, bar none, and you say that's the most fair category. Then we have to allow all women and all men.
But again, those things don't... So I just want to be clear. So, because I think I'm tracking your argument, is that in the University of Pennsylvania swim team, when Thomas swam against biological women, you're perfectly fine with that.
I think as long as we have the categories that way.
Thanks.
Good to meet you.
Yeah. I want to get him in. He hasn't debated yet. No, you're fine. You're fine. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Preeti. Nice to meet you.
Brittany, nice to meet you. Go ahead.
Preeti.
Preeti,
P-R-E-E-T.
I'm sorry.
You're totally good. Yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to go back to a little earlier. You said that Parker has lower T than you. So would you say?
It was called a joke.
Yeah. No. I'm fully aware it's a joke. But I guess on that point, do you think that T has to do, or testosterone has to do with your manhood?
No. Well, yes and no. I mean, if you are looking at typical testosterone estrogen rates of women, they are far different than those of men. But for example, your testosterone rate goes down when you have children. For example, when you're a man, that doesn't make you less of a man. They go down by about 400 points.
Okay, but when we were talking earlier about sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying that the reason why it's unfair for for example, a trans woman who used to be a man to be competing in women's sports, you cited that they have higher testosterone levels.
One of about 50 characteristics. Also, lung density. Men's hearts are bigger.
Okay.
We have greater bone density, muscle mass.
Okay,
tend to be faster. Tend to be stronger.
I understand. But those factors all come from the hormones during the development process, correct?
No, not necessarily. No.
I mean, most of them do.
Well, not all of them. So, for example, you could try to pump a young girl's body with testosterone at 8 years old, and you can get them stronger. You cannot necessarily get them on par with a biological male at puberty. You cannot. You could try.
Okay, but
because there's something in the coding of our genetics.
Right. The coding of our genetics, which is often controlled by different I guess parts of our DNA and also the hormones that are produced that affect the effective coding of how
we're more than endocrinology,
produced.
But it's a big part. Because for example, if you just give a kid testosterone, that doesn't even get them close to becoming a male, or estrogen giving them a female.
Okay.
They might get characteristics that are close to that.
Right. Okay.
But it doesn't. For example,
but I mean, there's no perfect image of this is what a female looks like. This is what a male looks like. But we all get our periods at different ages. Some of us and also for example, there are many circumstances where womanhood is just not one thing, right? It's a multitude of experiences
for
that
sure.
every single person.
Can you define what womanhood is? That's an interesting question for you.
Well, no, I can't define what womanhood is. And the reason why is because it's something that's an individual experience for every single person, right? My experiences, what I have experienced throughout my life is not going to be the same as another woman who may have grown up in a different environment.
We have disagreement, but not clarity. I say that being a woman or womanhood is an objective thing.
Right, but
it's objective outside of one's own opinions or experiences.
So, but are we at the point where we're discussing where this is not something based on your chromosomes, but something maybe based on a construct?
Well, no, it also can be objectively witnessed in empirical ways, in biological ways, in scientific ways.
Okay, so to clarify, we're still discussing whether womanhood is on chromosomes or not.
If you'd like to discuss that, it's deeper than just chromosomes.
Right, yes. Right. I'm just trying to define exactly.
For example, if we look at SPECT scans or brain scans of men and women, 98% of the time, artificial intelligence can tell you which one is the men and which one is the female.
Okay.
So our different parts of our brains fire. So for men, for example, our amygdalas are not as high working as women. You know what amygdala is the threat assessment part of your brain.
So obviously, your birth, so there's a difference between the concept of what sex is, which is a biological aspect, and what gender is, which is a social construct,
I reject gender completely as a different word. It's really personality.
So that's where the debate is, is the existence of gender.
Gender means personality.
Okay.
I don't doubt that biological men might have feminine
How would you
type
define
characteristics.
race on that point?
How would I define race?
How would you define race?
Well, race is a very difficult topic.
Okay, because I think that it's a really important thing to discuss when it comes to terms of this.
If I draw blood,
is it ethnic lines?
If you have a blood sample of a black individual and a white individual, I can't tell you which one is which. If I have a blood sample of a man and a woman, I can tell you which one is which, just by running very simple elementary blood tests. So, for example, if there was a Hispanic or a white, there is no difference in the genetic coding. There just isn't.
Why is it important that someone's... okay.
My next claim is that Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate. A lot of competition, Mason.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Can I define what a DEI candidate is?
I think that you're going to say because she's black and she's a woman, she was appointed because Joe Biden promised that, and it's not a testament to her success.
Not only that, but also in her getting the nomination of the Democrat Party, they said repeatedly, we do not want to pass over a black female.
Okay.
So just those two things, but the first one is stronger. You're right. Joe Biden said, I'm going to put on my vice presidency a black female. Right. So his criteria was, and that was like Karen Bass and Kamala Harris.
Okay.
So she was not chosen because of her intellect or her accomplishments or because of any of that. It was because she happened to fit a couple boxes. In fact, Amy Klobuchar, the vetting at the time was that Amy Klobuchar would have been a better VP, and Kamala ended up getting it. So it's just a statement of fact that she is there not because of her brilliance or accomplishments, but because of her ethnicity.
So Kamala Harris, first and foremost, there are a lot of criticisms that you can give to her on why she wouldn't be an effective president. It shouldn't be because she's a woman or because she's black. And it seems to be that you're saying that.
No, I just want people to understand and agree she didn't earn this.
She absolutely did. She has a career where she's been not only a DA.
DEI stands for
one of the biggest.
Didn't earn it, just so we're clear. But like
it stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. I like the meme though.
I know what it is. But do you at least admit and acknowledge that when Joe Biden was searching for a VP, he cared more about skin color and a female than the smartest, best person?
So the whole conversation with this affirmative action with DEI, the whole reason why people bring it in is to make this imaginary scenario that there's a super qualified white man who was overpassed by this unqualified, stupid, idiot person of color, which is such a terrible analogy because it's not true.
His own team
it's absolutely not true.
Mason,
that's not what it is. Joe Biden did not say, I'm going to choose an unqualified person and just pick his because she's black.
His own team
He's saying that I'm going to have two qualified people. If one comes from a different experience, it might be better to have a diversity and have a better perception in forms of government.
He said at the South Carolina debate that I will pick a black woman as my vice president. Secondly, Amy Klobuchar came out.
Is this a random black woman that he plucked off the street? Or is this a qualified DEA general attorney who's had a decorated career leading government positions? But you keep rambling about things that just aren't relevant to what we're talking about.
It is relevant. Amy Klobuchar in vetting came across as the more qualified candidate.
Why?
Because they said Kamala Harris wasn't very smart, wasn't very bright. That's their own vetting documents.
From who?
Joe Biden's own vetting documents.
So why would he go against that?
Because the base of the Democrat Party demands tribal politics and DEI politics over competency.
That's completely inaccurate.
He stated Jim Clyburn said, I will only endorse you in the South Carolina primary if you say that you're going to put a black person, preferably a black female, on your ticket with you. Therefore, you winnow the entire universe down and say, I'm only going to choose from this criteria. And let's just think more broadly. If you're about to have heart surgery, would you rather have a heart surgeon that's good and excellent, knows what he's doing, or someone that is a black female?
So,
and being president's more important than being a heart surgeon.
Aren't you on record saying that you'd be terrified if there was a black pilot that was flying?
Yes, I did say that. But why? Okay, cool. What was the full quote?
I personally, I don't know. If you want to expand on that.
Yeah, so this ties into this. United Airlines said that half of all their new hirees are going to be black or women, and that standards and pursuit of excellence is not going to be taken as seriously as diversity. When I'm flying a plane, I want to know my pilot is there because they're a good pilot, not because they fit some DEI box.
Damn it, I wish we could have a better conversation.
I'm sorry, man. Fast, man.
Okay, so let's say that Kamala Harris was the DEI hire as vice president. Do you think she's also a DEI hire as the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, they decided to go to her almost immediately because she is the VP, but also because she fits some criteria boxes. But let me ask you.
You don't think it's because Joe Biden nominated or
No, for sure, that's part of it. Of course it is. But let me ask you, what's her greatest achievement or accomplishment?
Her greatest achievement or accomplishment? I'd say her greatest achievement or accomplishment is completely destroying the Republican Party within like 2 weeks of being nominated. Like in the polls, she's just absolutely...
Huh? Sorry. How are you? Nice to see you. What's your name?
Amanda.
Amanda.
So you believe because Kamala is black, and a woman. She was chosen for
It's
vice
not my own
president.
belief. Her own team, Joe Biden said that. He said,
Joe Biden said that?
Yeah, he said, I'm first, because beforehand he said, I'm going to choose a black female for vice president. He didn't say, I'm going to choose the most gifted or the most talented or the most accomplished. He said, I'm going to choose a black female. And so by definition, that is DEI.
That is not the definition of DEI. By him saying that he was going to choose a black female, that could insinuate that he already had Kamala in mind for the role. No way does that insinuate that she's DEI.
Well, what is DEI then?
DEI would be...
Choosing somebody based on their race?
No, it's giving people of color the opportunity to be welcomed into spaces in which they typically aren't able to get into.
There's never been a female black vice president.
And why do you think that is?
Well, not why. You just said that's DEI. So by definition, she's DEI.
Okay, so she represents diversity within the government, is what you're saying.
She got elevated because she was a black female. Because
if that were the case, I'd be the president right now.
Do you think Kamala Harris was chosen because of her intelligence?
Her qualifications and her intelligence.
Really? Wow.
If you compare a speech with Kamala...
What's her greatest accomplishment?
Probably being prosecutor within the Northern Californian area.
You mean letting out violent criminals and turning San Francisco one of the most murderous, dangerous, arson-filled, homeless-filled slums in the country?
Wow.
That's her greatest accomplishment?
See, I actually went to UC Berkeley, so I lived there. I don't know if you did. I went around the area.
Berkeley is a slum.
Berkeley is a slum. Have you stepped into Berkeley?
Yes, I have. You think Oakland and Berkeley?
Have you lived in Berkeley? I've lived in Oakland as well. You're basing your
You think the Bay Area is like a good area in this country?
I'm from Vegas, so I'm not from the Bay. Born and raised in Vegas and went to UC Berkeley. Just graduated this year. What you're saying literally in no way, shape, or form makes sense.
So you think her overseeing San Francisco becoming the laughingstock of the country is her
greatest accomplishment? San Francisco is not the laughingstock of the country. If anything, that's Florida, no offense. But
well, hold on. If that's the case, why are millions of people moving to Florida and millions of people leaving California?
Because there are cheaper rates there. People are moving to Las Vegas. Las Vegas has changed as a whole.
It's cheaper because it's a better run state and we don't give money to illegals.
Northern California is not all. Northern California is not the entirety of California.
Hold on a second, but
there's Southern California, Northern California.
Why is it that so many businesses are leaving San Francisco if she did such a great job lowering crime?
Do you know businesses go where things are cheapest to operate?
Why are they cheaper? Because they're better run states.
Do you realize that California is one of the most populated states within the U.S.? So obviously costs are going to be higher.
California.
Not only that, but land within this state is also very, very, very minimal. So that's...
Well, hold on, you have tons of land. You're one of the biggest states
Yes,
in the country.
It is one of the biggest lands, but do you also take into account the population that's here?
Yes,
and due
Florida
to that,
and Texas have a greater combined population than California, and California has more population and more land mass than Florida. Why is it that San Francisco has a declining population and Miami, Tampa, Orlando have an increasing population?
What does this have to do with DEI?
Because she ran San Francisco poorly, and she was chosen as a VP because she was a black woman.
She didn't run San Francisco poorly.
She was the DA of San Francisco.
So she's prosecuted.
And then she became the AG of California, where crime went up, homelessness went up, arson went up, kidnapping went up,
She's not the
murder went up.
police. Isn't that the job of the police to get the criminals and for her?
The attorney general of the state is the top cop of the state.
Yes.
And what did she do to lower crime in California?
She convicted those who were guilty.
Why did crime go up?
Because as the population increases and this economy gets worse, as the economy gets worse, people are becoming more and more desperate, which leads to paths of crime.
Thank you.
Mine will be quick. Mine will be really quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, you're saying that the only reason she was elected is because she's black?
Well, first
so
of all,
that trumps her being a district attorney and all the accomplishments
this is not
she
my
has?
words. I'm just going on Joe Biden's own words.
Okay.
Joe Biden said, I'm going to preset criteria based on black women, and therefore she met that criteria, and that's why she was selected.
No, why? I think what he was trying to say is, she's just black. She was just calling her black. She's not saying I'm doing. He's not saying.
He made a public
He's not
promise.
saying I'm doing this because she's black. That's not what she said.
He made a public promise before the selection even began and the process began. I will put a black woman on the ticket.
So you're saying her being district attorney doesn't matter. That's not why.
No,
but yet
she
Trump
did an awful
being
job.
a failed businessman and making all the weird comments he's made.
Well, hold on a second.
That doesn't have any,
What I'm getting at, though, is that if she was not a black woman, she never would have been chosen as vice president. Her record was abysmal. She was a terrible attorney general of California. She did poorly.
I'll be quick. I'm so
She gets the next one.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just have to know. Do you think Tim Walz is a DEI
Yes.
candidate? Okay. I just wanted to see if you're consistent on that.
DEI does not mean black. Tim Walz was only chosen because the Democrat Party is doing so poorly with white men that they tried to find a white man that they could put on the ticket.
But then also,
It's true. Tim Walz is the first white DEI candidate in history.
Okay, in the Democratic primaries, Kamala Harris was
it's true.
performing incredibly
He
well.
agrees.
And she wasn't performing well in the primaries just because she was black. She was performing well in the primaries because during her time as a senator, she spoke incredibly eloquently. I used to watch when
Hold
I
on a
was
second.
little.
How did she do in the Democrat primaries?
She did like much better than Amy Klobuchar.
Hold on a second. She didn't even make it to Iowa. She dropped out months ahead of the first primary. She was super unpopular, not well liked. Her campaign fizzled out. So she was
popular
awful.
initially.
Initially, yes. And then the more people learned about her, the more realized she was awful.
Well, it was mostly because like progressives are really upset about her being a DA, which like can be like that's a completely different conversation.
Why aren't progressives upset about that now?
I mean, they are, but
they are. That's news to me.
But
Everyone's talking about how great a prosecutor she is.
Progressives are definitely upset about the like how like the Biden administration has handled like the atrocities in Gaza and how like there are definitely things that Democrats are upset about. However, that's not the point of this conversation. And
That's correct. That is not the point.
That's not the point. What the point is that a lot of
Aw, thanks, guys. Okay. Hi, how you doing?
Great.
So, you keep saying that Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate, and I feel like my main fallacy with this argument is that competency can't be objectively determined because we all have subjective definitions of what a competent politician is. But my question for you is if Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate, why is she beating Trump in the polls right now?
We'll see what happens in November.
Okay, but she's currently beating Trump in the polls. So either
if the polls are right, I grant you that.
He's incompetent.
Or maybe she's a new candidate with a big surge.
She's doing good.
I would caution you being a little, like, this point in the election, getting too cocky, because we remember what happened with
I'm not
Hillary
getting
Clinton.
cocky. I'm asking you to answer a question. If she is incompetent, how could she beat the president, who you said is an amazing
As of the
president?
timing of this filming, can you name to me how many times she sat down for an interview?
What?
She refuses to talk to the press, refuses to take questions. She's done not one sit-down interview in nearly 25 days at the filming of this interview, mind you.
I
which
think
I don't know
that
when
is
this will be
a
posted.
very weird point to make.
Well,
why would I
why is it-
count how many times Kamala Harris
because
has
it's
had
zero,
an interview?
because she refuses to take questions from the press and media? Like, shouldn't you do that if you're the sitting vice president?
She's...
He actually did 3 last Sunday and 1 today with Meet the Press.
So the quality,
with
the
Kirsten
qualification
Welker.
of a
I'm
good
debating her, though.
president is to take an interview.
If you can't take a single question, but let me ask you this, because it's on you. What's her greatest accomplishment as vice president?
As vice president, being the first female all-black president. We've never had that
No,
before.
like, I got that, but like, what's her accomplishment that made people's lives better?
I don't know. Vice presidents don't really do much, to be honest.
Can you name one thing she's done that's good?
No, probably not. Thank you. The Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, really? Did that lower inflation? What's your name?
Brad
Nice to
Brady.
meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. I like the idea. 30 seconds on, 30 seconds
Let's do
off.
it.
I think the best thing I could say about this is you have your opinion and I can have mine. You believe that Donald Trump was a good president. I maybe don't believe that. You believe that Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate for the position of president. I don't believe that. What I'm getting to is, what do you gain from this? If I concede and say that Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate, what do you gain? Because I know what it is. You're baiting us into rage so that you can make money on your TikTok account. You're baiting college students all over the world into arguing with you over these fallacies. You throw a red herring out there, and you're making money from this account while we're sitting here and looking stupid.
First of all, I don't control this account. I'm a guest here. This is Jubilee Media, and they're going to edit it as they see fit. Okay, number one. Number two, it needs to be acknowledged that she didn't earn it. She didn't win a Democrat primary. She dropped out in the Democrat primary in 2020. She's never been likable. She's got there simply because of race, not because of competency, not because she's good at her job. And I think that's wrong and it needs to be called out.
You're bringing up qualitative examples. These are all subjective, qualitative examples. Her race, her competency, her
Those are
dropping
Joe
out of the
Biden's
election.
words.
That's not what you said earlier. I'm talking about the points you've just brought up, multiple qualitative points. And these points can be believed by you and not by me, as you believe in a God and I don't. These are qualitative arguments that you're making against me for this. And I can believe differently than you, and I think we can agree to disagree on this one.
Okay, fine.
Perfect.
Okay. I think this is going to take the entire time.
You're welcome.
30 on, 30 off.
How do you feel about the Senate?
As far as her tie-breaking vote of the Senate?
No. I'm just saying like Senate. Like the Senate is technically DEI in a certain sense for like small states. Like Wyoming gets people in Wyoming get a greater vote than me in California.
Like Rhode Island and Hawaii?
I'm giving you an example. California, I get less of a vote than someone who exists in Wyoming. So we're giving people in Wyoming more say than they necessarily should, given that they're one individual. So why do you believe in DEI as it relates to how our government is set up, but you don't believe in DEI in terms of allowing for people who are black or who are women to be in positions of power that they have not been allowed in historically speaking?
So is the Electoral College and the Senate based on race?
It's predicated off of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
How is
right?
that?
Like inclusion of country areas, inclusion of rural areas, inclusion of white men like you.
Okay, so you mean like Hawaii?
I'm referencing. You could say smaller states or places that have less people in it. So obviously would be able to have more of a say per individual.
So your argument is that the U.S. Senate is a DEI. I gotta be honest, I've never heard that argument, but I think it's a little silly. But
how is it silly? Argue against it instead of just saying it's silly.
Well, right. So it's silly on its face because first of all, we have on the House of Representatives it's proportional to population.
Oh, but the Senate isn't. So it's DEI.
It's not DEI.
Yes, it is.
Why would you say it's diversity, equity, inclusion? Because Wyoming gets 2 senators. They're their own sovereign state, aren't they?
For country areas, for rural areas, equity for rural areas.
That's not
right, for smaller states.
So let's go back to the Federalist Papers and the Founding Fathers. Why was the Senate composed?
Can you tell me
this
why
way?
it's not DEI? Like under your definition, why is it not DEI?
Because it's not based on race. And by the way,
it doesn't have to be based
it's
on
also
race.
It's not based on equity and it's not based on inclusion.
Can't you have DEI based upon different characteristics other than race?
Let me finish.
Whether or not you're a woman, whether or not.
Let me finish. Why? It's because we are a collection of states. We are not a federal project. So states' rights usurp federal. Do you know what the 17th Amendment is?
Do you know why the Articles of Confederation failed?
Yes, but what is the 10th Amendment?
Because states had too many rights, had too much power.
What is the 10th
That's why
Amendment?
we specifically adopted the Constitution.
Parker, let me make one point, okay? Which is, how did we used to elect senators?
It'd be population.
No, we used to elect senators based on state legislatures. So the Senate is an extension of the state legislative bodies. That's not DEI, that's federalism.
No.
That's the way that our system is set up, which is a bottom-up, citizen-led government to allow the states, which are first and foremost sovereign. So it goes in this ladder in this country.
That's still DEI for those states
citizens,
and for those country areas.
No, because it's colorblind. It's not that,
again, DEI is not only based on race.
Hold on a second.
Diversity for country, diversity for rural, equity for rural, and inclusion of rural.
No, that's an interesting point. So
you think DEI is only race because you associate it with Kamala Harris?
Let me ask you a question. Is there a single instance in corporate America where DEI is implemented where diversity means anything other than skin color diversity?
So diversity.
No, it's not about viewpoint.
Women.
What? Fine. How about chromosome or diversity or skin color?
So skin color. There's gender. You have to move the goalpost a little bit because you got destroyed there. All right, but there's also.
No, I'm just asking a very simple question. The answer is no, because our system of government.
That doesn't mean that's not DEI. It still meets your definition.
The Senate is DEI.
What was your definition though?
What was
your definition? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Diversity doesn't only apply to race. You're just saying other people defined diversity, equity, inclusion to be based on race. You didn't though.
Let me finish. Because you're saying you didn't earn it. You know who did earn it? South Dakota and North Dakota when they charted themselves into states.
Wyoming didn't earn it because they have less of a population.
Into a state. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Who really wants to go? I don't want to pick on. I don't want to pick on somebody who doesn't want to get picked on. Okay. You want to debate?
Wait, what is the topic?
Whatever you want. So you're the affirmative, I'm the negative.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
You're good with 10 minutes. I don't want to put you in a spot you don't want to be in.
No, let's do it. This is fun.
You sure? Okay.
Okay, I guess the claim I'm making is that affirmative action is constitutional.
Tell me about your claim.
I wanted to talk about affirmative action because we haven't really gotten to it, and it's recently been revoked based on the new Supreme Court ruling. And I firmly believe that affirmative action is constitutional and is a right that certain American citizens deserve. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the 14th Amendment allows for equal protection regardless of race, and it's a colorblind amendment. And the whole idea of affirmative action is to try to give people extra boost based on their skin color or their racial background, which by definition cuts underneath the idea of equal protection.
Okay, So do you know why the 14th Amendment was founded and the Equal Protection and Equal Rights Act
Yeah,
exists?
the 14th Amendment was a post-Civil War amendment. 14,
Yes.
15, 16, 17 were all during Reconstruction.
So what was it in response to?
Slavery.
Oh, and who were slaves?
Well, that's an important point. So do you think affirmative action will help heal the multi-generational problems of slavery?
I do. I really do.
Okay.
Because, so let's just talk about the history for a second. Slavery begins in the early 1800s.
Earlier.
No,
Slavery?
1816 is the beginning of slavery.
1619.
Oh, yeah, I guess it would be. Okay, first slaves come in 1619, doesn't end until 1800s.
1880s.
Then we go into Jim Crow laws starting in 1877, and Black people are not given equal rights until officially 1965. Would you agree with that?
That's generally the correct telling.
Yeah, so, 1960s, 1970s.
But just so we're clear that Black Americans were able to serve in office in the early 1900s. They were able to vote throughout the 1900s. But yes, there were poll taxes, there was Jim Crow laws, there was segregation. Of course there was. I mean, you have to be delusional not to acknowledge those things.
Okay, so we can acknowledge all of those things. Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that Black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. It was evil, it was terrible, but Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s.
Yes, why do you think that is?
Good question. So we have the Civil Rights Act, we have more benefits, more government programs. Something changed between the 1950s and 2024. So there's two answers to this question. Either America got more racist since 1950s to 2024, so like that 70-year period, because Black Americans are worse off today per capita
Yeah,
than
I would
they
agree
were.
with this.
You agree with that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Than in the 1950s. Or there's another explanation, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, which is I think you would acknowledge that the disappearance of the Black father has been the #1 driver of Black poverty in this country. Now, there are reasons for that we could.
Yeah, what do you think the reasons for that are?
Well, culture is one. Would you agree?
So actually, let's go back to the foundations
you can say school
of
to
that
prison
culture.
pipeline, all that stuff. But can we at least agree that Black dads not being around is a bad thing?
Anyone's father not being around is a bad
No,
thing.
of course,
not
but
specifically.
75% of Black youth are not raised with a father in the home. It's the highest of any group in the country. It used to be 25% in the 1950s, so it's gone up dramatically in 70 years.
Okay, so you are blaming the fact that Black people have not been able to achieve economic equality and
Or even
advancement in
progress.
this
It's 'cause
country,
they've had decrease.
specifically and solely because of the absence
Not
of Black
solely.
parents.
It is the most primary ingredient reason. It's the most
So you
primary
think
reason.
it's the absence of Black fathers?
Correct.
And you think what else?
Public sector's teacher unions that have kept these schools crummy and kids aren't reading and teachers keep getting paid and we don't fire bad teachers. That's a big thing.
Okay.
War on police in our inner cities and not having enough police and not actually locking up criminals. Hear me out. For example, in Chicago, do you know that only half of all murders go solved in the city of Chicago?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That's a problem, right?
That is a problem.
Yeah, so we need more police, more detectives to solve those murders. But I want to hear your points too. I'm talking too much.
So let's go back a little bit to what you said in the issue of policing. Now, starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs.
You like the war on drugs. So
Yes.
during the war on drugs, it created an epidemic of mass incarceration, specifically
Hold on,
of
only if you're using drugs
no
or peddling drugs. If you don't use drugs, then you don't go to jail, right?
So you believe that the criminal justice system is flawless?
No, I've never said flawless. There's a lot of people in jail that shouldn't be in jail. There's a lot of problems in any system.
Okay, so
But-
wait, let's
but
pause
however,
on that. So you believe that a lot of people who have gone to jail
small percentage.
shouldn't be in jail? A small percent.
Yeah,
What
but
percent would you say?
5%?
You would say only 5%.
Correct. When you have a system of justice, you're going to have scummy prosecutors, you're going to have bad defense attorneys.
I have a question. Can I get a Google? What percentage of people currently incarcerated are Black?
It's way larger than
Well, hold on.
It's what?
Hold on.
way larger than
No, I know, but the fact I'm saying 5%.
it's caused by the war on drugs.
Hold on a
So
second.
that's the point that I'm trying to make. Exactly.
Who am I debating? Am I debating here? Am I?
If your own government is pumping drugs.
Yeah. So
Okay, so I want to make a quick
You're
point.
right. Black Americans are in prison far greater than the percentage of the population. So Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes, I
About
know
half
this.
of all prisoners are Black.
Exactly.
So Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders. They commit more arsons. They commit more kidnappings. For example, Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders. That's not a war on drugs. That's a culture problem.
Okay, so let's talk about that culture. Black people have been legislatively subjugated up until 1965. I'll give it, I mean, honestly, it's later, but let's just say 1965. You do not think that 10 generations of legislative subjugation and slavery during that time, 4,000 Black men, women, and children are lynched as the result of race riots in this country. You do not think that these things have a lasting effect. We have had 10 generations of subjugation and 4 of legislative freedom.
Of course they have an impact, but it's more on you to explain why things got worse since the Civil Rights Act. More violent, less fathers around, poorer. Why is that? So,
because of mass incarceration and the unfair criminalization of Black men.
But let's just take murders, for example. Why Blacks are 13% of the population and commit 58% of the murders? Why is that?
Because people in affluent and whiter neighborhoods are not being policed at the same rate. There are more police.
I'm talking about dead bodies. There's no, we're not talking about policing, we're talking about murders. Why are so many Blacks committing murders outside of their population?
Okay, let's take it back to some history.
I'm curious for an answer to that question.
I'm going to give you one. So let's go to redlining. Okay, redlining.
Redlining
yes.
is why so many Blacks are killing each other?
No, let me finish my claim.
Okay.
And then you can respond. Is that okay? Okay, so redlining, federally mandated or sustained by the FHA, right? Separating Black Americans to specifically impoverished and relegated areas of the country. We are incapable of buying homes and putting equity into neighborhoods with lower crime rates and better educational systems. We do not have access to things that would uplift and help our community. When you are put in an environment that promotes and reinforces social and economic inequality, you become desperate and are forced to do things that maybe don't align with your values.
But what you're making an excuse for a lot of murder.
When you have
a lot of stealing,
a high concentration of a subjugated people in one area.
If you were right, when Blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that?
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that Blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 Black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
If that's your explanation, but I guess
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that affected
in the last 80 years.
The generational psyche of an entire group of people?
No, I'm sure it did. I'm not discounting that. I'm just trying to understand, why is it the more social welfare we've done, so we've spent $20 trillion on uplifting Black communities, $20 trillion, and Black Americans are poor. We've done everything that's been asked.
You haven't done everything that's been asked, though.
Great society,
because what is being
stamps,
asked?
Subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion that has been spent on the Great Society, and yet Black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous. So there's an explanation. I'm asking you to explain.
But we are not asking for handouts. We are asking for equity.
And
part of equity
what does equity mean?
is
you mean taking from other people?
Excuse me. It means sharing, which is something that you guys seem to have a very hard time doing.
Sharing. So somebody has to explain why Black America, and you haven't, is 13% of the population and commits 58% of the murders.
Black people have built and founded this society.
Thank you. I was a very smart group, very opinionated. There were a couple other people, I kind of felt bad for them. They had a lot of strong opinions, but they just weren't ready for prime time. Overall, very good group, very impressive.
Republicans tend to just focus on preventing you from arguing your point, not actually countering the points that you come up with.
He often will switch the topic, do a lot of gish galloping and kind of filibustering to get people to not be able to make the points that they want to make. And I definitely feel like he did that to me.
Look, Charlie's a talented guy. There's a reason why he spoke at the RNC. He's media trained, he's had conversations like this before, and he's built a career on dunking on college students. But for a bunch of liberal students who don't have that same type of media training and who aren't as prepared to be in confrontational formats like this, I thought they did a really good job of articulating their views.
Yeah, Mason was the smartest kid, for sure. Parker needs to calm down. Very smart, but kept on changing the topic. But he's got talent. Very annoying, though. Smart, but annoying.
Parker definitely gave Charlie a run for his money.
Yeah, Parker ate that down.
One girl was very nasty. She was a very nasty person. She overly personalized it.
I honestly don't regret any of the things I said. The only thing I would have taken back is I said at the end, as I walked away, I said, I hope your daughter can get away from you. That one was a dig, and that was my bad. But honestly, in the case of her being a 10-year-old pregnant and he won't let her get medical help, that's just wild to me. I can't believe that.
I think the group did very great. It's a very hard environment for people to learn in these types of areas, but I think it's best that people get involved in debate and entertainment as it helps people grow and critically think in our society.
I thought it was very valuable. I hope
abortion. So in other words, you believe that abortion is worse than the Holocaust.
So they're both distinct evils.
Of course.
With some similarities. The Holocaust in some ways was far more evil.
Okay.
But as far as magnitude, the abortion crime is more evil. And I can explain more if you'd like.
Okay, sure. So I did do some research. It is found that 1973 Roe v. Wade was ratified, correct? And so one thing that you did fail to mention was that specifically numbers are just larger because abortion has been going on for a longer amount of time. If the mass genocide, right, that the Holocaust would have continued, it was about 6 million killed per year. That would have progressed to 12 million. That would have progressed to 18 million. But it was ended because, again, it's a totalitarian form of mass genocide. And so I wanted to ask you, when you look at the 93% of women who do get abortions, it's 58,590,000 that get abortions the first trimester, correct? And there is suggestive data that states that 12 weeks, of gestation, there is significant data that has said that pain receptors may not have yet been developed. And so that would mean that outside of the women who received abortions first trimester, it would be 88,200 per year after the first trimester that the babies are likely experiencing pain. I will admit to that. However, I am pretty sure that every single person in the Holocaust, which would have been 2 million per year, as far as the people who could feel pain, did feel that pain. And so I would like to ask you, actually, I think I would just like to tell you, I think that 2 million actual people, kids, grown people, people who were starved, worked to death, I think that is more significant than the 88,200 life forms, if you will. Because, again, 58,590,000 of them are probably not feeling any pain.
Okay, yeah, but a human life is a human life, regardless of how advanced it is or whether it can feel pain. It still has moral worth.
Right, but I found it interesting. You said it's worse, so I think
some way, so it's worse in numbers.
Okay.
The Holocaust was worse for two other different reasons.
Sure, go ahead.
It actually eliminated such a big portion of Jewish population.
Absolutely.
Nearly half of all living Jews were basically vaporized. And secondly, there was an intent and an evil of trying to eradicate an entire religious people.
Yeah.
That is not unparalleled, but we've only seen that happen 4 or 5 times in history. But just to reiterate the point, what maybe you could tell me, a 4-week-old baby who may or may not feel pain. Let me take your argument and say the 4-week-old baby cannot feel pain.
A 4-week-old baby that's outside of the womb or in the utero.
In utero.
Okay, understood.
So what is the moral difference of that 4-week-old baby versus you?
Versus me?
Yeah, why do you matter more than that 4-week-old baby?
Because I have past experience. I also have future experiences. That baby has future experiences. Nope, shut up. Nope, you are incorrect. That baby does not have any past experiences. And therefore, I believe that, yeah, I've probably affected and impacted more people in both a positive and a negative way than that 4-week-old uterus has. I'm sorry, not uterus, embryo.
Yeah, so just to make sure I'm clear,
Yeah.
that your moral worldview is that people gain more value the older they get?
Not necessarily the older they get. I would say that people gain more value.
You said that based on what they've done. So like an 82-year-old has more moral value than an 8-year-old. In fact, usually
no, because it depends.
Just to interrupt, the West actually was built on the opposite idea that we sacrifice the old for the young. But during COVID, we sacrificed the young for the old. And we actually inverted it. It used to be that the grandparents would fall on the sword so that kids could live longer lives. So I'm just trying to understand, and from where do you get that moral worldview? Why do you believe that?
Well, I wouldn't even say that what I'm arguing is that it's based off of how many people you know. What I'm saying is
realistically, if you are walking around, if you are walking around, right, and you have a 4-week-old uterus, I'm so sorry, I keep saying uterus.
A baby in utero.
Or embryo, okay, in your stomach. And then you have, just take a 4-year-old kid, all right? There are, number one, there are more people who most likely know that 4-year-old kid. That 4-year-old kid has the ability to understand fear, the fact that its life is in danger, and so therefore there's probably more reason, right, to not terminate the life of that 4-year-old rather than the life of the 4-week-old.
So there's so much wrong with that argument. Okay. So under that belief system,
sure.
If by government decree they said let's eliminate the Down syndrome kids.
Do Down syndrome people still have the ability to feel pain, recognize fear,
Some,
recognize sadness?
But it's highly diminished. But this is not a hypothetical, actually.
Okay.
It's actually you must get an abortion in Iceland if you have a Down syndrome baby. You must.
Yeah, that's really terrible.
Okay, we agree.
Yeah.
Right, but why is it terrible? The abortion, it doesn't matter that much, right? It's just like a clump of cells. Like, why not?
If it is going to directly impact either the mother's life or the baby's life, then yes, I do think that abortion is an important issue. I don't think the government should ever be able to come in and say, hey, you're required to have an abortion. In fact, the whole slogan for the pro-choice movement is your body, your choice. And I know you're going to disagree with that, but that is the whole point. So what it's saying is it's not left up to the government to decide if they should or shouldn't get an abortion. In Iceland, yeah, that's a problem because it's entirely left up to the government. But that's an issue.
Let me take it to another extreme, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because this is full freedom, right? So you're saying, hey, my body, my choice.
I'm actually saying for the first trimester. After that,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's just say this is a different moral argument that I'm interested to have you play around with.
Okay.
Should it be legal if a mom finds out she's having a girl,
okay,
but she wants a boy? Should she be able to abort that 3-week-old?
Yes.
Why?
Can that child directly survive outside her body?
Well, eventually, yes. I mean, again, so we talk about stages of development. What is the first step of human development?
I mean, obviously, it's whenever the 2 pieces of DNA, the
egg and the sperm meet,
yes,
right?
and then they collaborate.
So
and
therefore, if human development begins at fertilization, conception,
sure.
So then shouldn't the human be protected at conception?
Well, I don't even think it's going to be protected if the baby is going to be born to a mother who's like, well, dang it, my kid's not a girl, it's a boy, or vice versa. Then I don't even think they should be born to that parent in the first place. So,
well, but just to understand, but so what you are arguing for is eugenics. Just so we are clear, it is not just illegal. It is grotesquely illegal what you are talking about, which is sex-selective abortion, basically where you get a DNA result at 3 weeks. And you could be like, nope, not the hair color I like, terminate it. I wanted a boy. So basically, your view of pregnancy is no different than customizing a Ford Explorer.
No, my whole point, again,
No, you got to emphasize on it. Your view is that the baby, if all of a sudden you get a blood test that you don't like, that it's, by the way, you could tell a lot of your baby's DNA tests now. How tall it's going to be, its average IQ, brown eyes, green eyes, blue eyes, whether it's going to be likely overweight, obese, whether or not it's going to be a boy or a girl. So if you get anything that you don't like, you say, my body, my choice, get it out of the shopping cart.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, it's very ethically problematic, yeah. But if we have advanced to a society where that can happen, number one,
yes, no,
we're
I mean,
already
we're
already in pretty big trouble if we can literally say, okay, the baby's gonna have blue eyes, green eyes.
No, it's not. We're already there. We're there. So it's just so you understand. It's already.
I mean, you can look at a Punnett table, but it's not actually gonna be defined.
No, it's very defined. You could get a 3-week-old blood test, and you could tell right around 3 to 6 weeks almost everything with a very, very high predictive correlation of how your kid is going to operate, grow. Now, of course, there are some issues with it, but the sex is highly, highly accurate. You take the urine of the mom, within 48 hours you could tell. So what I want to make sure we're clear. You came here asking about the Holocaust. I'm going to complete the full circle. What you just talked about, sex-selective abortion, is Nazi eugenics philosophy, which is that we will eliminate those that we don't want.
Interesting. You're exactly right. You did get me on that one. Yeah, because Yeah, I'm not gonna like sit up here and pretend that you got me on that one. No, realistically, like if we're really gonna full circle and I'm gonna sit here and think about it, no, you shouldn't be able to kill your baby just because you don't like the gender or whatever.
Fair enough.
Listen, and I apologize for taking it to that extent.
No, it's not your extent.
But hold on.
I want to offer you grace. Thank you for saying that, and I appreciate that.
Okay. But I want to say, as far as like if we are balancing the numbers, I think that the amount of lives that were terminated I think they are more significant as far as the Holocaust, because every single person did absolutely have the ability to feel pain than they were whenever it was the 58 million.
Fair enough. So here's our view, and we'll close with this.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that if there is a 3-year-old in the audience that has very few friends and might be living on some homestead, or a 30-year-old that's very connected and very wealthy, in the moral worldview economy that we have, no moral difference. If there's
because they're like directly living like outside of their mother's womb, whereas if you have a fetus,
let me go a step further.
Okay,
if there's a 3-week-old in utero,
I mean, it's still leeching off of the mother's resources, so I'm not sure entirely how much of its own being it is.
Well, again, so you leech for the first 3 years of life. I have a 10-month-old. He doesn't hunt and gather. He doesn't go work.
But he's not directly attached to your, I assume, to your wife's body.
In order for his survival, he has to be directly attached to something. Somebody has to give the baby breast milk formula, or
okay, formula. Yeah, but can it
or something?
Okay, so here's your wife. Here's the baby. Can the baby just be apart from your wife and exist like that?
At 22 weeks, yes. So for 22 weeks,
so
there is an umbilical cord. So what you say leech, I say give. The mom gives life to the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing outside of first trimester.
And
so
what
I
we
agree
say,
with you there.
and not even a religious standpoint, because the religious is easy. Just from a moral standpoint, we were all given life by a mom who gave us nutrients through an umbilical cord, and we should give that back. That is just the moral cycle of life, right? Which is that which is given, that which is much expected. And so, again, human development, irrefutably, even a pro-abort will say this. Human development has a starting point.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yes, we agree. And it's conception. And we can use all these different words. We can use fetus, we can use embryo, we can use little one, whatever.
Sure.
But it's all still a human being. It doesn't go from rhinoceros to human being at like 10 weeks. It doesn't go from crocodile to human being. It's all human development. Therefore, using reason that we all have, if it's human development and it is a human being, human rights. The first of all human rights is the protection of life.
Interesting. But, okay, so do you agree that, like, let's say you go into a doctor's office, you have a 10-year-old, and then you have a 22-year-old. The 22-year-old is going to be allowed to submit to more testing as long without parental consent than that 10-year-old or whoever I said was. So, I don't know. I think, honestly, it's, again, and I don't know, like,
You have a lot of thinking to do about this, and that's okay. Because and this is not your fault, the pro-abortion worldview will collapse if you remove feelings and you remove hyper-emotionality. There is no defense using agreed-upon Western reason, which you believe in, and Western morality, which is we don't kill people smaller than us. We do not eradicate those that are, just because they don't have as much money or as much worth. We believe in universal human equality, which of course you believe in, right? Universal human equality is like the overarching big Western ideal, by the way, it's in our Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. If you believe in universal human equality, there is no room for abortion in that society. It does not exist.
well, I mean, okay, we can say
No, I'm just saying, it's fine. You have a lot to think about with that.
I think you do too, but okay.
I'm happy to. No, it's fine. I mean, I've thought about this my whole life. So thank you for your time.
I'm thinking myself. Listen, I appreciate you, Charlie. Again, I want to apologize about what I said earlier about
That's fine.
About that comment
when we cut the video, we'll put your second answer as well as your first one. We'll be fair to that, okay? Thank you very much.
Sure you will. Right.
No, I will. I'll just be honest. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kiana. I'm not here to change your mind or anything. I'm just mostly here to ask, like, why do you believe that abortion has become such a political and dividing issue in specifically the last few years?
Well, the repeal of Roe versus Wade, for sure, is one of the reasons. And secondly, there has been a not-so-subtle dehumanization movement over the last 60 years that makes it acceptable to crush human beings smaller than you if you so choose.
Okay. It's mostly like I believe that the initiative of those beliefs have become more hateful towards women, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, what is the incentive with all of these points? Like, why should we not have the option to choose?
Do you have the agency or the choice to murder.
Well, yes. There's consequences, but I do have the option.
Under the law?
No,
Okay,
technically.
so therefore, that's our position.
Well, not necessarily. It's more so like in the aspects of when, the mother's life is in danger and, those special circumstances, like why can we not have those options in those situations either? Because no one is inherently going out saying, I just want to kill babies. That's not anyone's point here.
Well, yeah.
It's more so the point of...
You should look at a Planned Parenthood ad. I mean, that's basically what they do. But so less than half of 1% of all abortions have to do with rape, incest, or life of the mother. 99.5% of all abortions have to do with just a form of birth control. It's a last catch option because whatever type of birth control you were using didn't work.
Would you want someone who is not necessarily stable or ready to bring a child into this world and provide that child the life it deserves? Would you want them to still bring that child into this world?
Without a doubt. Every life has a moral obligation to be able to live. So I just want to play this out. So you say it's all about the choice of the mother. Mm-hmm. At what point does the human being in utero become a human being in your mind? Because it must be not human then human. When does it cross that threshold?
I would say more so in the 2nd to 3rd trimester.
Got it. So just be respectful, guys. But why then? I mean, what happens in the 2nd and 3rd trimester specifically that all of a sudden human being,
Well, it goes from a clump of cells in the 1st trimester to the heart being developed in the brain and the nervous system.
So when does the heart begin?
I believe in the 2nd trimester.
Yeah, 6 weeks. That's the 1st trimester, right? So a heartbeat is detectable between 6 to 8 weeks. That's 2 months. The 2nd trimester does not start till 18 weeks. Brain waves are detectable at 10 weeks. So tell me why 2nd and 3rd trimester?
Because that's when the baby is more so developed, is what I'm saying. Like when in that argument you had I'm not sure when you were shown the pictures of the fetus, of a dolphin fetus and a human's fetus, you weren't able to tell the difference.
But that doesn't mean it was not a human being, though.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not developed. It's the same kind of concept. Like, if it comes down to that person's life and their well-being, why should they not choose themselves? Okay, no, but we're talking about two different things. So life of the mother is extremely rare. It's not that rare, though.
How many times do you think that there are abortions for the life of the mother out of a 1.5 million abortions every year? How much do you think?
I'm not sure with a number off the top of my
less than 500 out of 1.5 million. And by the way, a vast majority of those are babies that could have been delivered by cesarean section. Do you know what a cesarean section is? Okay. So understand that if a baby's at 28 weeks and they say it's life of the mother, why would you terminate the baby when you could deliver it by C-section?
Well, if you can deliver it by C-section.
No, but they're not even given that option. Instead, they go to an abortionist.
So then that's essentially an issue that we should address within these politics. Because no one is saying to kill kids. No one is saying go kill babies.
But first of all, late-term abortion is very common and very frequent.
It's not that common, though. That's
again, how many times do you think it happens a year?
Late-term abortions?
Yeah.
I don't think it happens.
Tens of thousands of times a year.
You can't say that when it comes to the life of the mother.
But I am curious, though, just more, because you said about well-being. Mm-hmm. Why should any person be able to terminate another human being if you feel as if your well-being will be jeopardized? Why should I be able to terminate someone in this audience if they're going to get in my well-being way?
No,
by what moral But apply a universal moral standard to the abortion argument and help me understand it.
If I were to get pregnant right now, I would not be able to give birth to that child and give it the life it deserves. Because
how did you get pregnant?
Accidents still happen, guys. Like
okay,
you can be on birth control.
Hold on.
You can still.
This is an important point, guys. But wait a second. But then shouldn't you take responsibility for your orgasms?
No.
So let me be clear that you want to have all the fun, but none of the responsibility.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying accidents still happen.
No, of course. And you know what happens when accidents involve other human beings? You don't terminate them. You don't get to eliminate another human being because of an accident. That's not a moral code we live by.
Correct. But why do you not care about the outcome of that human being's life?
Well, of course I do. No, I mean.
But you don't, because if I were to give birth to a kid right now and it's living in horrible conditions, because I'm just a college student, why do you not care? Why do you not put in funding into those establishments to help them?
everything that we believe in is about the betterment of that kid's life. Safer streets, for more police on the streets. We want to have better schools and school choice so that kid can read and learn. Stronger churches so that that kid can learn about a strong ethical code.
Why does that matter if I can't afford a house for this kid?
Well, but hold on, I'm going through the list of all the things that can happen. Curtailing inflation so you can have purchasing power for that kid. The point being, everything that we as conservatives believe in is making it easier to have children in this country. And just because we don't want more government money spent on something, which actually makes it harder, does not mean we don't want that thing. But it's a red herring argument. We're talking about the morality of the elimination of a life. Right? And so I just want to be totally understanding of clear that what species is the being when it's at 6 weeks?
To me, I believe that it's a clump of cells.
No, I understand.
It's a zygote.
No, I know, but the species.
I'm sorry, what was
the
that?
species. So everything on the animal kingdom has a species type.
Right.
So we are Homo sapiens, and you could be an alligator. But so what is it? Is it
okay, it would be a Homo sapien.
So if it's a Homo sapien, it's human. So then shouldn't it be given human rights?
But it hasn't. My point is, it hasn't been developed. It's still just a clump of cells.
Right, but
at the end of the day.
But hold on, my baby right now is 9 months old. He's still developing. He can't speak yet.
Right.
He's crawling. So why does he have less moral worth at 9 months? We're all still developing here, by the way. You know that men's brains don't stop developing till they're 35?
Right.
So should we just be able to say, well, sorry, you're 21, I couldn't get rid of you?
It's more so, if I can't give that child the life it deserves, why am I bringing it to...
Got it. No, this will be my last question. I want you to think about it. If a single mom has two 2-year-olds, twins, and she wakes up one day and says, I can't do it anymore, I can't give them the life they deserve.
But that's just not the circumstance.
Hold on. Should she be able to take out a shotgun and kill both those kids?
No.
Of course not, because you think that would be objectionable. That's why I think it's objectionable to eliminate 2 babies that are 6 weeks old, because they're morally the same thing. One just happens to be bigger. One just happens to be older. One just happens to be outside of the womb. They're both human beings. And you have something in you that says, no way is it okay to kill a 2-year-old. That's called your soul talking. What I'm trying to do is connect reason and your soul and have that same sort of objection no when you see twins on an ultrasound.
I just believe you're looking at this more emotionally than scientifically.
Again, you can believe that. I actually am looking at it incredibly reasonably because I can tell you down to the minute when human life begins. You kind of give me a range. Your life began not at birth, but at conception, about 9 months before your birth.
That's your opinion.
Well, it's actually science's opinion. You know why? This is your eye color, your skin color, your tastes, your wants, your desires, your interests, introverted or extroverted, whether or not you're going to be tall or short, it all got decided in that moment. You know why? Your DNA was formed. Well, and with that, what is your marker as a human being? As we map the human genome, we realize everything about you, whether or not you have a predisposition to heart disease, whether you're going to be tall, short, extra wide, skinny. It's all in deoxyribonucleic acid.
Correct.
And the DNA does not start in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 20 weeks. It starts at conception. And that's when you were formed. That's when you came into this world and you were worthy of protection. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
It's all right if you have an opinion. I'm saying it's not all right if you don't understand how the female reproductive system works.
Let's pop quiz. When does heartbeats begin for babies in utero?
Have you ever eaten an egg before? That's yes or no. Have you ever eaten an egg before?
Scrambled, yeah.
Okay, so would that be you scrambled a full chicken?
Well, hold on. You understand that it takes an egg to be fertilized?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But your point, the whole point you're making is
hold
that
on. So,
a baby...
since we're doing pop quiz on like human development, so when exactly do heart waves begin in utero?
You know that, but you don't know the four.
Hold on, no, tell me when heartbeat.
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No.
So wait, hold on. So you're trying to say I know more about the woman reproductive system than you do?
I am a woman, so yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, but the point being is we could both go back and forth of like independent trivial facts when it comes to the woman's reproductive system. But here's something we all know, because God wrote this on the human heart of every individual, as it says in the book of Romans. We know deep down it's wrong to murder a baby.
You're not murdering a baby. It's not a baby.
Okay, well let's play this out. What is it then?
It is an embryo, which is not a baby.
Well, okay, so it's a fertilized embryo.
Correct, which is not a baby.
So at what point does it become a baby?
When it is born.
Oh.
I don't agree with abortions up to full-term abortions.
Well, hold on, but you said it becomes a baby when it's born.
Yes.
Then why would you have abortion limits before it's born? I thought it's just an embryo. So embryo rights?
No, the embryo rights aren't a
But
thing.
then where would you draw a line for abortion then, and why, and under what moral standard?
There are medical reasons not to have an abortion
No, that's not the question. That's not the question.
You just asked me why would I not have an abortion full term for medical reasons.
Okay, so at 29 weeks, the baby is nearly fully developed, can recognize the mother's voice, has a heartbeat, has brain waves. Is it okay to abort that baby?
I don't, it's not okay, but you're going to say it's okay to have an abortion then. I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's not okay to have an abortion ever? How
Correct.
about 3
Yes.
weeks in?
Correct. No abortion. Correct.
Why?
Well, because your life started at conception.
It did not, though. It did not.
Well, hold on. So let's play this out. So who are you as an individual? From your skin color to your eye color to your likes, your dislikes, from your temperament to your everything.
I am not an embryo. I'm a person.
Hold on a second. But it started with something called deoxyribonucleic acid. And your own individual DNA started at the point of egg and sperm meeting. That's where your journey started. And so from that point in particular, life begins. Not at birth, not at first words, not at first steps, but when your DNA, which is who you actually are. You are your DNA. Every one of your DNA cells is coded XX or XY. It's coded with all of your unique characteristics and attributes that we believe God individually curated for the rest of your life. That doesn't happen at 8 weeks or 10 weeks. It happens at conception.
What happens if you need a medical abortion? If the mother will die if she does not get an abortion?
So
what's your stance on
the
that?
The only place where medical abortion is necessary is before 20 weeks, which is incredibly rare.
What if she will die? What if the mother will die?
Hold on a second. So let's take, for example, this is a very important question. Let's say it's 27 weeks, okay? And the mother will die. Why shouldn't, you could agree, why don't we just have the baby delivered by cesarean section? You know what a cesarean section is, right?
Yes.
What is a cesarean section?
A C-section?
Yeah, why wouldn't we just put the baby out by C-section instead of terminating it?
Because if the mother will die, it's not safe to do that.
You remove the baby.
I understand.
Threat removed.
I know what a C-section is.
But it's actually safer than an abortion. So every time they say, this is for you guys, they say, oh, you need to have abortion for medical reasons, respond, then have a C-section.
What if you're not able to have a C-section? What if you are on your deathbed, you need to have an abortion right now?
Well, again, but...
And it's illegal. You can't, so you have to die.
First and foremost, C-section is safer, C-section is quicker, and a C-section saves both lives. A C-section
The baby is already dead, you just said.
No, but even... No. Hold on a second. You're saying if the baby's already dead, then it isn't even an abortion, right? Then you're talking about a removal of a carcass, which is a completely different medical operation.
So you're saying that's okay if you're having...
If you're If you're removing a carcass of a baby, that is not an abortion. By definition.
It's the same process.
No, it's completely different. During an abortion, they actually inject the spinal fluid with cyanide poisoning as the baby squirms and tries to find its mother, and it is gasping for air of life. Have you ever watched an abortion? It is
Have
one
you?
of the... Yeah, actually I have. And I encourage every human being to watch one to know what you are fighting against. Because when you see abortion, you will have your life will be changed. That we allow the massacre of 1.5 million babies a year under the guise of woman reproductive health. We are allowing babies every single year to just say, we're going to discard them. Why? Oh, they're smaller. They're not humans. You're using dehumanizing language saying, oh, it's an embryo. No, that's a baby. Made in the image of God, deserving of protection.
What do you do with those children once they're born into a bad household?
So now we've transitioned to, what do you do with the kids?
Right.
Glad we're past the other part of the argument, okay? What do you do with them? There's twice as many people on the adoption waiting list than there are abortions every single year.
And they're still on the list. So you want to send a child into an orphanage?
Well,
is that what you want for a child? Is that a good life for a child?
No, I'm not advocating that. In fact, I'm advocating to make it easier to be able to adopt, number one. Number two, there's no such thing as an unwanted child. Number three, it is never right to justify the mass elimination or termination of people under the guise of saying they're unwanted. That's how we get Auschwitz. That's how we get the greatest horrors of the 20th century. Those people are unwanted.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
It's really not. I don't
It's 45 million babies. It's nearly 8 times worse than the Holocaust. What's the moral difference between a small baby in the womb and a grown Jew who was killed at Auschwitz. What's the moral difference? One is older?
Is a person.
What species is the baby in the womb?
It's a human, but
therefore they should have human rights.
No.
They should have human rights.
I do not agree.
Oh, so small humans, no human rights. Grown humans, human rights.
It's not a small human. It's an embryo.
You just said.
Believe life matters or not.
I mean, is it because it has a heartbeat when it is conceived?
Well,
exactly.
Right.
So
what is the question you're asking?
I'm saying that
my question to you is, do you believe that life matters?
I do believe life matters after the person is born. Or the child.
After the person's born. So okay, so
here we go.
If Riley were to be pregnant, or if any woman were to be pregnant right now, and there's a baby that's 20 weeks developed, is that baby alive?
No.
No.
I mean, not physically. Is it? I mean, it's.
Wait, so it has a heartbeat. It can hear the mom's voice. Has its own fingerprint, its own DNA. It can empty its own bladder. What about it is not alive?
The fact if it doesn't have a heartbeat.
At 20 weeks, it does. So heartbeats start at 6 weeks, right? So I'm talking about a 20-week baby, 20-week-year-old baby. How is that not alive?
I mean, I guess we see it different ways, but I mean, in how I see it, you have to cut an umbilical cord to get that child out, and I feel like if that child is still attached to the mother, the mother has to eat to feed the baby. If the child is still living on the baby inside of the mother, it should not. It isn't alive.
Well, a mother has to feed a baby months and months and months and months after the baby is already on this planet.
But the mother is feeding the baby. This baby, when it's inside, are they feeding?
So what about someone on a feeding tube? If you don't feed them through their feeding tube, are they not worthy of life?
How old's that person? Are they born? Have they been born yet?
But why does the moral worth of a human being matter whether they're born or not?
Probably. Well, the point that I was trying to get out with it. The point that I was trying to get out with it is that women shouldn't have to be forced to give birth to that child if they don't want to. That's the point I was just trying to get out there.
Okay, let's say I have 2 ultrasounds here. One of the babies.
Show the dolphin fetus again.
One of them is a baby conceived in rape.
Okay.
The other one is a baby conceived in a loving relationship. Which one is which?
I mean, it's up to them. The thing
No,
is
but
that
which one is which? I can't tell the difference. Help me out.
I'm not saying that there's a difference between those two.
Exactly. So they both deserve human rights.
No, I'm saying that if a mother doesn't want to give birth to her child, she shouldn't have to.
Okay, so should you be able to commit murder of a newborn if you don't want the baby anymore?
No, you would.
Why? Well, then what's the difference?
You wouldn't have the child if you didn't want it. That's the point of abortion.
Well, hold on.
I will.
I hope you never have an abortion, actually. Abortion's really bad.
It's my body, my choice. That's the thing.
Well, hold on. If it's your body, your choice, and I'll let Riley chime in.
So is it your choice because you're a man and you get to make those decisions for me?
Well, hold on. Time out. You want to say that to Riley? Riley's a woman, too. So say the same statement to her. Say the same statement to her.
But
No, your logic must be equally applicable to all sexes. Say that same statement to her.
I'm saying that she can
say the same statement to her.
I'm not saying that statement to you. I'm saying that you as a man.
You just said it to me.
No, I'm saying you as a man should not have. You should have the right to choose whether I can get an abortion or not.
Does she have the right to choose for
she
you?
does have the right. She doesn't have no one has the right to choose for me.
Okay,
but
so it's
me.
not a man thing. That's what I'm saying.
It's a man because Trump is in charge and he is the one. He said that he is the reason that Roe v. Wade is overturned. He said
Praise the Lord, Roe versus Wade is overturned.
In what way? It also kills other women and children.
You know we have more babies being born in Texas than ever before since the abolition of abortion. Isn't that a good thing?
And that's why we have such a high population. That's why we have 12 million people on Earth. Yes, we do.
We have a declining population. We have a population collapse. What are you talking about? The world is on the verge of a population extinction event. We don't have enough babies. We're below replacement levels in the West.
So you want to make women have babies?
Okay, let's go through fundamental biology. How do people get pregnant?
I know how a woman gets pregnant.
So if you decide to have sex, you might win a certain prize.
What if you don't decide?
I'm sorry, what?
What if you do not decide to have sex and you get raped?
Again, it's still a human life. You don't get to kill a baby just because a human life occurs. Something evil, rape, does not get better when another evil action occurs. And I will say this, somebody in this audience was conceived in rape. Can you tell me who?
It doesn't matter who. That's the thing.
That's the thing. Is they're all human.
I'm not saying that they're not a human life. I'm saying the mother should have the
Okay.
choice whether she
Got
wants
it.
to
No,
give
but
birth to that
you
human
said
life.
they're not a human life, so they are a human life. Therefore, an extermination of human life is called what?
Murder.
So yes, abortion is murder, even in the case of rape, and that's a hard thing to internalize. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
You're saying it's a child, but it's not.
what
physically a
species
child.
is it?
It is a human, but
Okay.
But is it a? Has the child formed yet?
But hold on, you're not fully formed. Riley's not fully formed. I'm not fully formed. We actually go through this process of development our entire life. An embryo is just one stage upon human development. It doesn't mean you get less rights just because you're earlier in the human development scale.
I mean, I feel like I do have more rights than a baby that is in someone's
Why does your age give you more rights over an embryo? Why do you have the ability to eliminate a smaller human? Why is that morally consistent?
I'm not saying that it's better because it is a smaller human. I'm saying that, oh my God, I'm saying that women themselves should have the choice to get. Baby has no choice. Yeah, that's why I should have the choice.
Riley, do you want to take this as a woman?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a flawed logic to insinuate that if you have a heartbeat, these certain qualifications, that is what determines human rights. The moment you're conceived, you are a human, right? We all just agreed that the species is a Homo sapien. You are a human at that point. That's when human rights begin. So I think it's ironic that the other side, who touts human rights, who claims to fight for human rights, they don't believe those belong to children. And as a woman, I believe every single life is worthy. Every life matters.
Okay, well, I mean, there are so many women out there who do get pregnant, and because of laws that are in place, that they cannot have an abortion, and they have to give birth to that baby. Many women that are pregnant, I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying some of them are drug addicts, some of them just physically can't financially keep a child. What is the solution?
Adoption.
But the thing is that, do you know how many kids are actually adopted from adoption agencies?
Do you know how many women struggle with infertility who would love to adopt a baby?
Exactly. 25% of these kids get adopted before they are 18. And the kids that do not get adopted are let go from the adoption agency, and they do not know what they're doing. Not that they don't know what they're doing.
There certainly could be reforms within the foster care community and within the adoption system, but there are plenty and plenty and plenty of families of women who are hoping to be able to adopt because they can't conceive on their own.
But 25%? Only 25%.
Then there should be a reform
not for a lack
within
of willingness,
adoption.
though.
What are you going to do about it? If you want to say that we cannot have an abortion, but many children are not finding homes until they're 18, and a lot of these kids, once they're let go from adoption agencies, become homeless, become drug addicts, because you say that we cannot have abortion, but you are not doing anything to make it right.
But first of all, number one.
Neither are you.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm 16.
Okay. So again, the essence of this, again, and we'll wrap this up. There's twice as many people on the adoption waiting list than there are actually being adopted. Twice as many. So the adoption waiting list is very long. You just have to make it easier to adopt.
Adoption reform.
Well, then that'd mean that only 50% of these kids would be adopted, and there are still 50% of these children which are.
I think she missed.
I think you missed the point. That's okay. Thank you for your time. We'll get to the next question.
Yep.
Thank you.
The 64-yarder is the most recent of some unfortunate luck the Giants have faced. It's the third 60-yarder they've faced as time expired and all were made. It's the same.
Good evening. My name is Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk is my husband. I first want to thank the local, state, and federal law enforcement who worked tirelessly to capture my husband's assassin so that he can be brought to justice. I want to thank the first responders who struggled heroically to save Charles's life, and the police who acted bravely to make sure that there were no other victims on that terrible afternoon. I want to thank the officers who have protected our Turning Point USA family these past 2 days. And I want to thank the Turning Point USA board, the COO, Justin Strife, and my husband's chief of staff, the amazing Mikey McCoy, for all their work in these terrible days to be the stability for our family and for the wider Turning Point USA family as well. My heart is with every one of my husband's employees who lost a friend and a mentor. I want to thank the staffers of his amazing Charlie Kirk show, who helped him broadcast from this studio, this chair. Every day he loved it. He loved what he did. I want to thank the millions of people who have shown their love for Charlie here in Phoenix, across America, and worldwide. I want to thank my husband's dear friend, Vice President Vance, and his phenomenal wife, Usha, for their love and support. You guys honored my husband so well bringing him home. You both are tremendous. I want to thank President Trump and his incredible family for the same. Mr. President, my husband loved you. And he knew that you loved him too. He did. Your friendship was amazing. You supported him so well, as did he for you. 2 days ago, my husband, Charlie, went to see the face of his Savior and his God. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith. And one of the final conversations that he had on this earth, my husband witnessed for his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Now and for all eternity, he will stand at his Savior's side, wearing the glorious crown of a martyr. Charlie loved life. He loved his life. He loved America. He loved nature, which helped him always bring him closer to God. He loved the Chicago Cubs. And my goodness, did he love the Oregon Ducks. He'd want me to say go Ducks, so I have to since they play on Saturday. So go Ducks. But most of all, Charlie loved his children, and he loved me with all of his heart, and I knew that. Every day I knew that. He made sure I knew that every day. Every day he would ask me, how can I serve you better? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? Every day. Every day. He was such a good man. He still is a good man. He was the perfect father. He was the perfect husband. Charlie always believed that God's design for marriage and the family was absolutely amazing, and it is. It is, and it was the greatest joy of his life. And over, he would tell all these young people to come and find their future spouse, become wives and husbands and parents. And the reason why is because he wanted you all to experience what he had and still has. He wanted everyone to bring heaven into this earth through love and joy that comes from raising a family. It's beautiful. Charlie always said that if he ever ran for office, I know a lot of you asked if he ever was going to, but privately he told me if he ever did run for office that his top priority would be to revive the American family. That was his priority. One of Charlie's favorite Bible verses was Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too. I know you do. So does our Lord. And our world is filled with evil. But our God, you guys, our God is so good. He's so incredibly good. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Already I have seen the worldwide outpouring of love for my husband. I've heard the testimonies from people my husband inspired to get married, to start families, to seek out a relationship with God. It's the most important one of all. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him. He could always find the ones who could handle any setback. And it's almost like he knew. He could see it in you. Even when you couldn't see it in yourself, he just knew. He knew you could handle it. You thought you only had 5% left, and he knew you had 15. He knew you were ready to go that extra mile even when you didn't. He always challenged people around him to work harder and to be better. He never gave up. And I love knowing that one of his mottos was never surrender. So I want to tell you that we'll never surrender. We never will. Ever. Ever. Our campus tour this fall will continue. There will be even more tours in the years to come. America Fest here in Phoenix this December will go on. It will be greater than ever. The radio and podcast show that he was so proud of will go on. And in a world filled with chaos, doubt, and uncertainty, my husband's voice will remain. And it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever. And his wisdom will endure. My favorite too, but my husband's favorite word in the English language was earn. He would call all of you to be people of action who earn the future America deserves. So to all of the young people who felt inspired by my husband's faith and hard work, all of you already know what Charlie would want you to do. You know. You know. If you're in high school or if you're in college, go find your local Turning Point USA chapter. Join it. Stay involved. He wants you to make a difference. And you can. You can. The movement's not going anywhere, and it will only grow stronger when you join it. If there isn't a chapter, you can't find one, then start one. There is no excuse. You can start one. And as my husband used to say in this room, every single day, if you want to get involved, the best way you can do that is going to tpusa.com. That's what he would say every day from this chair. Every single day. I watched his show every day, and he would always say, if you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com. If you're a pastor, join our movement at TPUSA Faith. And if you're a parent, I highly recommend that you come to America Fest in December. Sign up right now for that because we would love to see you. I would love to see you. Charlie would. He'll be there. He'll be there in spirit. Bring your kids, bring your family. But most important of all, if you aren't a member of a church, I beg you to join one. A Bible-believing church. Our battle is not simply a political one. Above all, it is spiritual. It is spiritual. The spiritual warfare is palpable. Charlie loved his Savior with all of his heart, and he wanted every one of you to know him too. He wanted everyone to know that if they confess the Lord Jesus Christ who rose from the dead, then they will be saved. Hear me when I say this, nobody is ever too young to know the gospel. Nobody. Nobody is ever too young to get involved with saving this beautiful country. This country my husband loved and still loves. And nobody is ever too old either. There's no age limit. I know my husband is still here. He's watching over us. I don't remember the last time I slept. I couldn't sleep last night. And Charlie, baby. Charlie, I promise I will never let your legacy die, baby. I won't. I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen. I promise. Charlie, I love you. I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget. And my goodness, am I so humbled to witness Charlie, you alongside Jesus right now, doing what you always want to do, baby. Making heaven crowded, right? That's what it's all about. Making heaven crowded. I can't wait to see you again one day. Thank you all again who love my husband, who supported him, who wrote him an email every single day during his radio show. He read all of them. All of them. God bless you all.
Praise for the family, man. Rest in peace, Charlie. Like I said, let's have a moment of silence, and then we just gonna end it there, man. Y'all have a good night, man. Be safe out there. See y'all tomorrow.